Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
and we're back with another packed podcast, your weekly 3-hour escape from the makings of World War III that are going on just now, Zach. Will there be a World Cup now in 2026? Is the
Come on,
question that we're asking.
Oh man, Michael,
Let's
come on.
delve straight into the politics right from the start.
Just when I feel all sorted about it.
I'm
Not all
regretting
sorted.
booking a trip to Oregon in the first week of March for the
Oh.
Portland game.
Oh yeah, it is an awkward time. Actually, I'm like tentatively supposed to cross the border this weekend, but I don't need to. It's more like a fun thing, but I might not. Not because of that, more so because I've been so busy lately. But I might choose to stay home and spend my time on other things that need attention.
There's been a funny kind of meme that's been doing the rounds in Scotland this week of Scotland's World Cup group. And it has Scotland first with 9 points from 3 games played. Brazil, Morocco and Haiti all on 0 points from their 3 games played. They've all got an asterisk beside them, and underneath it said, results subject to immigration control, ESTA approval, and the guy at Boston Airport saying, next please. Because all 3 teams in Scotland groups, their fans are on the countries list
Yeah,
of fans that can't travel to the World Cup.
that's a little advantage for you.
Yeah. If
I
they can
mean-
stop the players getting in now as well, that'd be even better.
Yeah. Kirk and I have been talking a lot, and this is a quote from Kirk this week that you will very much appreciate. He said, "I would not want to play him at the World Cup," and he was speaking of Mr. McTominay.
He's in good form at the moment.
Yeah, he's playing very
Much
good.
like Brian White, because Whitecaps were back this week. We'll talk about Whitecaps in the first 2 parts. When Brian came out to do his media chat this week, I congratulated him on his engagement. He said, thank you. I went, oh, congratulations as well on your 54-goal season. And he's like, what? I was like, I've been playing EAFC and you've got 54 goals in the season for the Whitecaps. You're in a row.
He must have had a good laugh, eh?
Yeah. I went, can you have another career year? That's why I then asked him in the scrum about, you've had career years.
True.
So yeah, he's on fire. He should be in the American team with that. We're going
Did
to
he
talk
say-
international football in part 4 as well.
Yes, we are. We need to. Yeah. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Talking about the world being on fire.
Yeah, let's talk about the positives of what might be happening. Yeah, so we'll talk Canada in part 4, Whitecaps parts 1 and 2, Vancouver FC in part 3 with an update on the court case shenanigans and everything as well. I mentioned Scotland's World Cup group. My hope is that when we play Morocco, if they get a penalty, they let Brahim Diaz take it.
Oh my goodness, that's what I was talking about. Sorry, when I was talking about
Yes. Oh, we'll talk about that now. Let's get.
Let's
Because I
talk
said
about it
to
now.
you,
It's crazy.
because you said, "Oh, I'm watching the Canada game, no spoilers," and
Yeah.
I went, "Oh, you've got to watch the AFCON final highlights after it."
Well, I had seen somewhere. I had seen a clip of this what was going on with the Senegalese fans. Because I
Oh,
think I've said in the podcast before, the Senegalese fans in Doha were great. They were like, yeah, like that, all in yellow. They had like a
yeah. Oh,
band. They had a
they
band.
had just reached their breaking point.
They had a band at the front, and they were going all game, and like it was just like a nice little, nice part of the atmosphere that
Yeah.
the time. Did I see them only once? I think I might have only seen them once. But anyways, oh man. So I saw that clip, and I was like, are they like something bad must be happening here, or is it like they won and there's like a safety issue, or they're trying to like get on? I didn't know what was going on because I couldn't read anything. I just saw a little video, like a little
Yeah.
video
Well, I
clip.
mean, if we're being honest, the first 90 minutes of the game weren't really anything to write home about. It
No.
wasn't a classic AFCON final, as a lot of these knockout games actually have been, because I said I wasn't really going to get into it until the knockout stages. And it's on the whole, it's not been the most exciting knockout stage. But I mean, it all kicked off in stoppage time. Senegal thought they'd scored 2 minutes into stoppage time.
Oh yeah,
It
why
gets
was that one called back? Because the
for
highlights
a
I was watching.
push,
Oh,
which I mean, I can see how the referee would look at it live and think, oh, he's pushed him over to get free, and then he's headed it into the box and it's headed home. The problem is he blew right away,
yeah.
so then VAR couldn't do anything about it.
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay,
Morocco could say, well, you blew, so we stopped. We
yeah.
didn't defend the
So that's
ball
that's
coming
kind
in.
of that. I mean, when you want to talk corruption in the game, that a referee can't do that. Like
Yeah,
a
I
referee
mean,
who does that needs to be questioned.
he has to be 100% sure.
Yeah. Well, no,
The
but even now, you let those things go because you know the video is going to sort it out if you got it
Yeah,
right.
aha.
Let the
I
play let the
think
play continue, and then you could say, "Oh, there was a push," and
I
you
think it
blow it
was
dead.
Hakeem who basically just threw himself to the ground. It
Yeah.
looks, but they were both pushing,
By
and
Hakeem,
I
do you
could
mean
see
Hakeem?
why it was given live from the referee's point of view. But as you say, you let it play out now when there's
Yeah.
VAR. If you're in a cup competition or a league competition with no VAR, you've got to make that judgment call.
By
Now,
Hakeem,
maybe he's not used to refereeing games with VAR.
yeah, but still, that's not an excuse for that level. By Hakeem, do you mean Hakimi?
Yeah, sorry, Hakimi. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I'm not as familiar with the Moroccan players as I will become June.
Oh man, yeah. Well,
Well, that goal's disallowed. They're upset, and you can see why. But made even more upset 3 minutes later when, in the 95th minute, Moroccan player. Now, again, there's jostling in the box,
yep.
and the Senegalese player doesn't help his cause because his arm is basically around the back of the guy's neck. Now, I don't have a big issue with that being called a penalty, to be honest. I think it's a stupid challenge. You've made the referee have the call to make. So he's called over to VAR. So the incident happened in the 95th minute. He's called over and gives the penalty in the 98th minute. The penalty is not taken until the 114th minute.
Well, because they left the field, right?
Yeah, so they walked off the field. Now, the Senegalese manager is going to get a fine or a ban, or both, because you can't encourage your players to walk off the field. All the players went to the dressing room except Mane, who stayed out. Apparently, he was speaking to Diouf on the phone.
Al-Hajj Diouf.
Yeah, and they were talking about how to do it. So the players came out, and even when they came out, there was shenanigans at the penalty. How the keeper did not get booked for twice coming off his line and stopping the penalty getting taken, I don't know. He got away with a lot there. And you think, well, they're going to be so pissed. The Senegalese fans were then fighting with the police because they were like, this is all rigged for Morocco, who Morocco, incidentally, were trying to win their first AFCON in 50 years. They've only won it once, 1976. You've got a chance to make history in your own country. You're the golden boot winner of the tournament. You actually take the ball off another player to take the penalty. Although I think he was always taking it. And it's that case where someone else holds the ball and then he gets all the abuse and then hands it off.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Senegal players were in his face, in his ear. Folks done some mouth reading and it's like, God will judge you, God will judge you, and all this stuff to him and saying it to the referee. Now, we've spoken before about the arrogance and the selfishness of players that take a Panenka.
Mm.
It's a cup final. It's the last kick of your game. I don't care how confident you are in doing a Panenka. You've got to just hit that penalty.
Yeah, you got to be confident to score it. It was the technique was similar to Jonathan David's technique.
It was awful. The keeper slipped, was on his knees, managed to get up and collect the ball with ease.
Yeah, but I was wondering about that. Okay, it was a slip. Okay, because it was so easy for me.
He was kind of wrong-footed and then just went down. He must have thought, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, horrible decision.
You've just got to put your foot through it. Now, if you miss or it's saved or you hit the woodwork, the fans are forgiven in a way. They'll still be like, "Oh, you should have scored that," but they're like, "Oh, he gave it his best effort and it just didn't go in." You do that and you miss, and that's all you're remembered for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and from personal experience, the Moroccan fans are not.
They're not the most forgiving and understanding.
Not the most understanding group of people I've ever come across. I'm saying Moroccan like football fans. I love Moroccan people and culture and food and whatever. But Moroccan football fans, I wouldn't say forgiving is one of their traits.
Well, I just remembered something
or even forget about forgiving, understanding. inside a stadium, like during or after a game, not super understanding.
Well, I just remembered something as we were talking there. So I've got a book upstairs that I'm only a couple of chapters into. I got it a couple of months ago. It's by an Irish writer called Ronan Hessian, and it's from 2021, and the book's called Panenka. And it's about a guy called Joseph, who's from a small Irish town, and he's playing like non-league football for his local team. And everyone in the town now calls him Panenka, because he tried a Panenka in a game and it didn't come off and it cost his team the victory. So he's now ridiculed, and everywhere he goes, they just call him Panenka. And that's basically what this Brahim Diaz guy's got now.
Sounds like a great story for a book.
It's a fun book. There's a lot more to it outside the football thing. It's just about how he's then struggled with life after that and mental health and all the pressures from that. And although I'll say now, I think he's a selfish prick for trying to do that and showboat, I do feel for him, because that is going to be such a hard thing for him to get over.
Yeah, I concur.
So, I mean, after that, Senegal then regroup and win it. 4 minutes into extra time, Papa Gueye, rocket off a shot. Absolute brilliant goal to win any Confederation final. And Morocco hit the woodwork in extra time, and I thought the Moroccan fans would maybe riot at the end, but they were actually fine. It took a very long time for the trophy presentation. I was watching it on E4 in the UK because it was free in there, so through my VPN, and yeah, I would say it was a good 25, 30 minutes from the end of the game to the trophy presentation. I think they just wanted all the Moroccan fans out of the stadium. A couple stayed behind to watch, to be fair, but yeah. And Gianni was trying to console Diaz as he gave him his Golden Boot award and stuff.
Oh, Gianni.
Yeah. Oh, he put his arm around him, and I mean, he might have whispered in his ear, "You understand, you have to give that to Donald."
Was the head of state? I didn't watch the trophy presentation. Was the head of state involved?
In the walk-off or the presentation, or?
Oh, handing out the trophy, being in the trophy photograph.
I don't know. They didn't really go into that. I don't think UK TV had a clue really who was there.
Okay.
Talking though of heads of state, this walk-off did remind me of something, which I know you're too young to have watched it live, which I did watch it live, but you might have seen the footage of this. 1982 World Cup, France, Kuwait. There's a whistle in the crowd. France score. The Kuwaiti president, who is a crown prince, storms on the field and tells all his players to get off and says they're not playing the game unless the referee overrules the goal, which he then did.
Wow.
But then France scored again a couple of minutes later.
Yeah, the 82 France team was a pretty good team.
Yeah, it was Alan Giresse. I looked up because
Oh,
I couldn't remember who it was that
Giresse.
had scored it. He was a great
What
wee
was
player.
he under Giresse at the
The
time?
referee was under Giresse. Of course, Battiston was there before he was brutally murdered by your thug German goalkeeper,
It was
Schumacher.
Tony Schumacher, I think. Yeah,
Yeah. I was going to
one
call
of the
him Willie
Schumachers.
Schumacher, but that's a jockey. But yeah, that was fun today. I've had a nice quiet weekend. Caitlin was over on the island visiting her dad.
Hmm.
So when the cat's away, the mice are obviously going to play. So I have spent the weekend watching
Playing
lots of
the
A.
AFC.
No, actually, watching lots of A-League football and reading Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray again.
Oh,
1890, classic Victorian literature. And that's not going to be the only time you hear about the picture of Dorian Gray in this episode. That's what everyone does when their wife's away, isn't it? Like read Victorian literature and sit and watch 1960s new wave French cinema.
hmm.
Jean-Luc Godard's My Life to Live, Vivre sa vie from 1962. Fantastic film. It's in 12 episodic bits. And then I wanted to watch Alphaville, which I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of Alphaville, but I'm quite into my art house theatre and cinema. I used to
Nice.
go and watch a lot of arty films when I was in Scotland.
Nice.
What other soccer podcast talks about Victorian literature and French New Wave cinema from the 1960s?
There you go.
And I
Yeah.
mean, there might be good reason that they don't. Some folk listen to football podcasts for football. I would say anyone that's listening to this might want to get to about the 25-minute mark because we've got Hot Chocolate Boy coming up as well. Then we'll get into the football. Although we've just been talking about football, but AFCON, you know I love my cup football with a domestic club international. Did you watch Real Madrid lose to Albacete in the Copa del Rey?
No, but that's I'm happy that happened because I really the sacking of Xabi Alonso to me is
Oh.
really unjust, and the culture that they've allowed or created or whatever is just disgusting.
Yeah,
The way that,
absolutely. That sacking was shocking.
yeah,
I mean, he'll be in so much demand. It's like he's going to walk into a job, no problem whatsoever.
yeah.
But
But the way they've allowed certain players within their dressing room to have so much say and control, and they listen to their complaints so much. Like obviously, a coach needs.
that sounds like a club here
Oh, I mean,
that we're going to be talking about in this part.
obviously, they like the coach has to like has to work with his players and whatever. But this doesn't sound just like, oh, the coach isn't playing me, or I don't like his tactics or whatever. It's
The
pretty
Albacete
crazy.
thing, who's a team I never really heard of before.
Really?
I don't think.
Albacete?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't follow Spanish football, so
They haven't been. I can't remember them being. I remember them being bigger, like in the 90s.
Well, they're in a relegation battle in the second tier right now.
Yeah.
So I think they're
That makes sense.
17th in Division 2. They led twice, and then Real Madrid, just into stoppage time, tied it up at 2-2. And you
Is
thought,
it this is single match?
Yeah.
Don't they always? That's not double. Oh, sweet.
and you're like, they've tied it up in stoppage time. They'll go on and win now. And then Albacete just go up the pitch and score a surreal goal where the guy's got no room at all to get the shot off. And it's
I haven't
like,
watched-
he's like, I'm just going to kick it towards goal, and it curls right into the corner.
I haven't watched the highlights yet, but yeah, I heard
Oh,
about that.
well
Really
worth
exciting.
watching. The scene, amazing scenes. Still talking of international football, FIFA have received over 500 million ticket requests
For how many? Is
for
it
the
5
World
million?
Cup.
How many tickets were there available? 3 million, 5 million? What is it?
I can't
I
remember.
can't even remember the number.
There was a couple of million, but there's over 500 million applied for it.
Yeah. So everyone's
So-
chances are really good.
Yeah, I mean, I put in my request for 2 games, so we'll see how that goes. They said that they got requests from all 211
Member countries.
registered member countries.
Nice.
Outside of the home countries, the highest number of applications came from fans in Germany, number 1, England, Brazil, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, and Colombia. The most coveted match, apparently, in this sales phase was Colombia-Portugal
Yeah. That'll be
on
it.
27th of June in Miami.
The other top games in the top 5, Mexico, Korea, the final, obviously.
Yeah.
Mexico and South Africa. And they're bizarrely in the top 5, the round of 32 match in Toronto.
Oh, because that could be England. I
Ah.
think that could be England, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I haven't looked ahead to see what that was, but I was like, oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Last little bit for the introduction. We had some complaints about the last episode.
Oh,
I've buried it. I didn't want to mention it at the start, but I think need to address it. It was about the talk of the nude calendar.
okay. Okay.
Folk are not happy that we didn't have it out for this Christmas, and they don't want to wait, Zach.
Oh my goodness, Michael. Oh,
They
wow.
want it now. So, I mean, we have to oblige.
Tell Caitlin.
I've had her taking pictures all day. Once she
Oh,
got home
my
from the Nemo, I was like, get the camera out, love. We've got a calendar to shoot.
Oh my goodness. 12 pictures of you is what it'll be. I don't know, maybe Tom. Maybe I could see Tom being up for that.
Taking them or being in it?
Probably both.
A discreet camera in front of him. I want
Like
to
the
read you
jokes.
a little bit from the picture of Dorian Gray.
He's got it all queued up.
Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are cultivated. For them there is hope. They are the elect to whom beautiful things mean only beauty. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Much like calendars, Zach. So I took that when I read that in the preface to be my go-ahead to get the calendar done. Now, I'll ask you how your week's been quickly. Don't say full. I had someone message me saying, please stop asking Zach how his week's been. It's always full.
Yeah, it's always busy. Life is very busy. I don't like saying busy. That's why I say full.
Well, we did actually have some complaints, and the complaints were that last week's show was too short.
Yeah,
That was the genuine complaints that we had. So, how was your week?
no, I just lots going on, whether it's in work or life of our family, and then all the other fun things I participate in. This week, the being the highlight for me, or one of the highlights from this week, is definitely going to what is unfortunately the final league game for the U19s of
Oh, in
Vancouver
the
FC.
Fraser Valley League.
Yeah, because their last opponent has folded early.
Oh,
So they did
really?
like a 5-0
That seems to
forfeit.
happen a lot out there. Teams are not
Yeah.
making it through.
So they could secure, I think, like at least like a playoff berth or a cup berth or a provincial cup berth, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it should be provincial berth.
waiting for more. Yeah, because they're going to finish third. I think they're
Oh, they
guaranteed.
definitely will be then. Top 5 from Fraser Valley going.
Yeah. So looking forward to hopefully getting to some of those games in whenever they are, February or March or whatever's happening next. But
Yeah, it should kick off in
was-
March.
it was a
Maybe
really good-
April, but
they
I think they're trying to make it earlier this year because League One's starting earlier.
they played Aries, who those only
Oh.
only the second loss of the whole season. Because
Did
Vancouver.
Aries win it again?
No, Vancouver FC won 3-2.
No, sorry, win the title.
Oh,
I haven't looked at the standings this
I
year.
was looking at it today. They're on top. I think they've clinched. They're close. I mean, there's one game left at most.
Oh,
So I think,
back-to-back titles for Farivar's side. Good for him.
yeah. But no, Vancouver FC played really well, and the young lads did really well. Nice assist from Lucas Friend in the game.
You've
Uh,
got
and-
a friend in me.
Yeah. And the cool part was, I can't remember his name now, but number 55, the young, I think he was playing right fullback. He got the match-winning goal. I think it was him. I think it was 55. Was it 55, Kirk? Yeah, Kirk thinks it's 55 too. He smashes in the winning goal from the kind of the just outside or top of the box on the right, kind of inside right channel. And the goal goes in and they're celebrating. And then his dad was like right next to us, like over, and his dad was just like over the moon, and he's just like,
Aw.
I got here late, and like it's like his, I don't know, first or second goal of the year or something. And he's just like, he was just so proud, and like it was pretty
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome. No, I like stories like that. Yeah, I didn't get out to any VMSL. I mean, when can you when you're watching French New Wave cinema? But I will hopefully get out to some provincial cup games. Now, regular listeners will know that we've been starting the podcasts this year with our Canadian Soccer A to Z. that's going to now kick off part 4 this week and won't be kicking off the next couple of weeks of the show because the most wonderful time of the year is underway. Vancouver's Hot Chocolate Festival is back, and that can only mean one thing: the return of Hot Chocolate Boy.
Hot chocolate boy, he's never had one. Hot chocolate bad one, hot chocolate boy.
Yes, the 16th annual Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival got underway on Saturday. This year's festival, running from January 17th to Valentine's Day on February 14th, 100 different vendors, 168 locations, 234 flavours. Find all the details on hotchocolatefest.com, and only managed to get to one so far to kick off this year's Hot Chocolate Boy segment. Went to one of my favourite coffee shops, Kafka's. And Kafka's have 2 locations for this year's festival. Their downtown one, Kafka's the Park. That's not the one that I go to. I went to the one on Great Northern Way. Went on Sunday afternoon, primarily because I thought it's going to be a bit quieter then. And it was. Walked in, no bother. Got one of the 2 free parking spots outside the venue as well. And they're offering 2 flavours this year. Number 122 and 123 in the festival guide. It was the latter one that we went for, the Hot Choc Nana, which is dark hot chocolate infused with their special house-made banana cinnamon sauce, topped with whipped cream, cocoa powder, chocolate shavings, and it says a banana gummy on top, although we didn't get a banana gummy. And it's paired with 2 banana shortbread cookies with a chocolate cream filling. Absolutely delicious. You get the banana taste from the very, very first sip. Very rich. Nice temperature as well. I've complained in the past that some of these hot chocolates aren't the warmest, but this was a perfect temperature, beautifully made, lovely whipped cream as well on the top. The banana from start to finish, you got that flavour all the way through. The shortbread cookies were nice and I had great to write home about. I'd give the actual hot chocolate itself a 9 out of 10, and probably the overall with the treat as well, maybe a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10 for our first one. The other one that they're doing at that location is Pistachio Rose Velvet, which is a white hot chocolate infused with rose water and pistachio sauce. And that is also served with a shortbread cookie, this time covered in rose water. I don't mind Turkish Delight, I don't mind rose flavour, I don't mind white chocolate in itself. Not a huge fan though of white hot chocolate. So I gave that one a skip.
Yeah, I saw your wife's photos of that. It looked really good. But what looked even better was, do you remember Brett Bird?
Oh yes, because he went to Live For, which I've been to. Well, we go to Live For all the time. It's a vegan bakery.
Yeah,
it's all vegan stuff. I don't like their selection this year, though. But
I didn't read all the description, but just visually it looked better.
Yeah, it's got potato chips on it.
That was. I think I didn't read up there.
It seemed a bit weird to me, and I do love to Live For stuff because we go there all the time. But yeah, check out Kafka's on Great Northern Way. We've got a few more places that we'll be checking out in the coming week. As I said last time, though, when we said the festival was getting underway, for the sake of my wallet and my health, we're trying to rein it in this week. So we might not do as many this year as we've done in the past. But yeah, let us know where you've gone to. Send in all your recommendations and photos. Love to see them. AFTN Canada on Twitter, AFTN on Blue Sky. And we'll be back with another Hot Chocolate Boy in next week's show.
Every girl yelling, wanting him to be the terror. Hot chocolate boy, he's a sensation. Hot chocolate nation, hot chocolate boy.
I guess we should maybe talk some more football now. I mean, we have been talking football in amongst all the other crap that I've been talking about. But let's, in the next 2 parts, talk Whitecaps. Whitecaps news of the week. And the big news is they were back for pre-season. Medicals took place on Wednesday and Thursday. I don't know if anyone needs me to emphasize that the medicals were over 2 days. And then the team flew to Marbella on Friday via Munich. They picked up a very special passenger along the way. Thomas Müller joined them at Munich. They've headed down to Marbella. Plan is that they're going to play 4 games there. 3 have already been arranged but not announced. They'll be playing a Ukrainian team, a South Korean team, and an Irish team. So you can do your detective work and work out who they are from the teams that's mentioned that they're there. I don't know if you saw their Instagram post this morning, but it was raining in Marbella this morning. I checked to see what the temperature was, 12-degree high.
Wow.
And the temperature this week is low to mid-teens and rain on a few of the days. So they're not enjoying the Mediterranean heat. But good to see everyone there. They announced the travelling squad as well. So it's all the first team guys. It's a lot of guys from WFC2 and some academy call-ups as well. Sam Rogers as well. He's had a lot of interest outside of Canada as well.
Yeah, he's a quality young keeper and a quality young man.
Yes. He's got a bright future ahead of him.
Those who don't know, he's the son of Mark Ted Rogers, right? Former Wickham Wanderers and Canadian men's international.
Yeah, so Mark's told me so much about Sam. Got to meet Sam as well when we were having a chat up at UBC one day. A lovely lad, so wish him all the very best. Do you know who else is in the camp, Zach?
Who else?
Tristan Blackmon.
Oh, what?
I know.
With the palm trees?
Yeah. I mean, he just loves palm trees so much, he had to go to Marbella.
There you go.
Oh, what a shit show of a week it has been around Tristan Blackmon. I said on last week's show, I didn't think that was going to be the end of it. Didn't quite think we were going to get some of the nonsense that we got this week. So Tristan, on Tuesday, posted on his Instagram a picture of some palm trees. Now, was that just trolling? He's a very big fan of palm trees. Was he excited for going to Marbella? Well, Michelle Kaufman from Miami Herald had said, this could be more about the Miami transfer and stuff. And then the next day, US media like Tom Bogert and Jeff Carlisle said that Tristan Blackmon hadn't turned up for his medical on Wednesday. And, I mean, we'd all been told that the medicals were taking place Wednesday and Thursday. Different players would come in different days. There'd be media availability on Thursday. And most of the top players would be there on Thursday, then speaking to the media. But they were adamant that Tristan Blackmon hadn't turned up for his medical and that contract talks with the Whitecaps for an extension were underway. The Whitecaps would only say officially that players were scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday, and then Tristan was in for his medical on Thursday. He was on the pitch doing testing, understandably not made available to media. So, I mean, the big question is, was there genuinely something in this? Was someone trying to force a move, trying to get the new contract done? Or was it just further attempts to unsettle the player from persons unknown? We don't know, but we can speculate.
Yeah, but there's all this stuff from the Miami side, right?
Well, Miami's owner George Mass spoke
Yeah.
to media on their first day back on Saturday and said the deal was dead as soon as the Whitecaps rejected their offer. So he did a thing in Spanish, which thanks to Sinvan Forever, who translated it in full. A few other guys did some snippets as well, but he sent the full thing to us. And Mass says, there existed conversations with Vancouver, into Miami, and as the CEO of Vancouver also reiterated that we made an offer for the player. Today he is a player for Vancouver, and that's what he, Axel Schuster, stated from Vancouver, and we are stating that this issue is now closed. So they're no longer courting Tristan. Now, the Whitecaps haven't come out and said publicly one way or the other, whether Tristan was meant to come in on Wednesday or not and just didn't show up. One thing I will say, though, about the reporting of this is Tom Bogart was getting a bit of abuse for how he had put things out there. He was standing by his story. He said that the person that told him this knows what Blackmon is thinking. So it's either they've hired a mind reader that's able to use these intersensory things to tap into his brain, or, I mean, it sounds in that case that it's a family member or a close friend or an agent that's given him that detail, which I don't think you should put out there, that the person that's told you that knows what Blackmon is thinking. Yeah. Does anyone know what Blackmon's thinking apart from Tristan, and if Tristan hasn't told him himself? So, I mean, we don't know. And, I mean, until Tristan speaks on it, which he's going to have to at some point, we don't know how everything played out. But I would take what you've read in the US media with some pinches of salt. You have to wonder where a lot of this is coming from. And Axel said that discussions can take months on a new contract. Now, what I will say is Tristan Blackmon signed an extension to the end of 2027. And I'm not just saying this about Tristan, I'm just saying this in general. Players need to honour and respect the contracts that they've signed on the terms that they've signed them. Now, there's nothing wrong then with a player going and saying, look, you've seen what kind of season I've had for you. I think when you look at some salaries around the league, even within the team, maybe I feel I'm worth a bit more than I'm getting. What do you think? Just like in normal people's work, you would go to your boss and say, look, I think with what I'm giving to the company, I'm worth a pay rise. Yeah. So we don't even know if that's happened, but you can't fault Tristan for that. If, and I'll say this with a big if, Tristan decided, I'm not going to come up, I'm not going to show up for training, that's a whole different aspect that I do not agree with in any way, shape or form. But we don't know that that is definitely the case. He was there on Thursday. He was on the pitch. He's in Marbella. He's a Whitecaps player. He's not going anywhere. And the Whitecaps can't really afford to let their top players go. I want to play you a little bit of audio now from Axel Schuster, just from training on Thursday, just talking about the whole Blackmon situation. And also the fact that when you've got a player like Thomas Muller, who wants to win trophies, you have to strengthen the team and not weaken it. So here's what Axel had to say about all of that.
I'm wondering why we have so much noise about that. We have medicals yesterday and today. He's in and is doing his medicals, or is done already with his medicals. He was here early morning, and tomorrow we fly to Spain. That's everything I have to say to it. I think we had a statement about another situation to clarify that. So I'm clarifying now that he's here in and doing his medicals, and it is in Vancouver. And I don't think that right now there's any to add or there's any more noise needed. We're not sharing what we negotiate and where we are with negotiations. That we haven't shared that about any player, and there are a few other players we are speaking with. So I will not comment on where we are with him. But the main facts are he's here and doing his medical.
Has he expressed any interest in getting a contract extension?
I think that every player is open to get a contract extension. That normally comes also with some changes in the contract. We I see the noise and the nervosity around that. For that reason, I want to put it a little bit in context. 2 years ago, we negotiated a contract with him and extended the contract. And this whole negotiations the last time took 3 months. So that was actually really the timeline. We looked it up from our first offer until we really got the contract done. We are negotiating with a few other players since 2-3 months already. So for that reason, I would say I have not seen any player who is not open to negotiate a new contract because normally it comes with a better payment. But how those things go and how long this takes and what it needs for that and how the conversations go is something that we never do in the public because that's not helpful at all.
With these, the Blackmon situation and the reports, the sources seemingly coming from outside of this region and this market, is tampering something? Is this the type of scenario where tampering could be potentially investigated?
No, I don't think that's needed. You know what? He has 2 more years of contract, so I think we are not in a rush of doing anything. This is a situation where I really try to calm it down now, because this whole story is really not needed, not helpful for no one. It's different if there are players who have 6 months contract, then you are a little bit more concerned about all those things. But right now we have positioned ours clearly. We have made very clear that the news that came out of some whatever leaks, guessing or speculation were not true. We had a call. I've had several calls. I had actually since then 2 calls with Miami. Yesterday again. And there is nothing between the 2 clubs. They respect our position, and it's also fair. And that's another thing where I really want to explain the market and everyone that is somehow normal. We are speaking about one player because a club has shown interest, and I'm already so transparent to share that this happened. We had that for 6 players. We have a few other players in our team that are here and reporting and preparing right now, where we also got a written offer and no one is speaking about it. This, for whatever reason, became public, but it's not any different situation than the others because it was public, because I think we have never participated in a public discussion on that.
Players' kind of health and what their headspace is at is obviously key. With all this stuff coming out about Tristan, it can obviously unsettle a player and the squad. Have you spoken to Tristan about it? Where is his head at just now? Is he totally focused on the Whitecaps, or do you feel this has unsettled him a little bit?
Yeah, we had conversations with his camp, and I haven't spoken yet with him because I haven't seen him yet. But we definitely will speak with him in Spain. But you know, this is a little bit different if somebody who already had challenges to see minutes is in a position where Ryan Gold is coming back and is a set starter on that position. I will be always honest and straight to the player, and I will say, Jaden, that's our situation. I will not sell you that now, like, oh yeah, maybe if you have a good preseason, you can take out Ryan Gold and Ryan sits on the bench. So we were really, we knew what the situation is. And yes, there's always a scenario, something can happen, but if you only have a couple of months to prepare and to get on the World Cup roster, and you are also questionable there, so you haven't a safe spot there, then I'm the last person who is not open to look into solutions. So for that reason, we have to look at that situation, and we have to look at Ali's situation, where the contract situation was a different one, and where we were speaking about that already 6 months. 6 months ago, I told Ali, you cannot go. We had a written offer on the table. And he was really frustrated about that. And I said, look, in winter, we will sit down again and we will look at it. But we are trying to compete for a championship. I said to him at that day, we want to win here at the championship. We were very close to it. He was actually laughing at that at the end of the year. He said, you told it. I didn't believe it at that time. It was really, we really went there. And at the end, we did all right. We got more money. He got a better deal. So it played out well for everyone. So his situation was also different. So now we have maybe a player who is, like other players, asking us to look into his contract. I don't think that that's comparable with the situations we had. And the only way as a player how you can improve your situation is normally train well, play well, and put a good argument into every training session, or give the club give a good argument for yourself in every training and every game, so that the club feels under pressure to do something on your contract.
With Thomas Mueller here, he's openly spoken. He wants to win trophies here, win championships here. To do that, the team obviously needs to strengthen and not let players move on. Is that part of what you think about as well, that it's not good optics if there's too many players going out? And do you expect players to be in Marbella or trialists in at Marbella?
It's a good point that you make. We're not in. We have a group together that last year, not by accident, was a team that competed for the crown, because we did it in the Champions Cup, we did it in the regular season, we did it in the playoffs. So we have a really, really good group together. So obviously the ideal scenario is to try to keep this group together as much as you can, and and to go for another try and maybe go for 2 more tries. So as long as the contractual situation and also the I would say the chemistry in this group is the right one to compete and to go for it again. At the same time, you need always a little bit of changes. You need a little bit of fresh energy. You need a little bit of new competition in a team. So we will do this. But if everyone puts out a white paper and writes up a starting 11, everyone will agree that we have a top starting 11 there. I mean, from the starting 11 that was on this amazing run at the end, it's only Ali missing, but Ryan Gold is coming back, who wasn't a starting 11 player. So I think that's not a big trade-off to change that. So you also don't want to create, I would say, some too much of negativity while you have players that cannot play because they think they have to play, but you have too many of those starting 11 players. So I think what we really try to do is to have the depth and have the quality also in the depth to rotate, but I don't think that it's the right thing to bring in now a lot of starters, because what do I tell the starters that we have? We have Ryan Gold, we have Thomas Müller, we have Brian White, we have Emmanuel Sabi, we have Kubas, we have Sepp Berhalter. So why a lot of clubs are making offers for those players because and good offers because they want to have them as a starter. So we will focus on them, and we will only make sure that they feel enough pressure in every training, and that there are options in a case they have not a good moment or they're tired that are good enough that we can keep the level that we are playing at.
Axel, you've talked so much about Tristan. I don't want to belabor the point. I just want to make it very clear. Do you expect Tristan Blackmon to be part of this team when the Whitecaps play their first game on February 18th?
Yeah, absolutely. If we would have a different idea, then we could have started to negotiate with Miami. They have sent us an offer, and we never even negotiated with them really. So not with all respect, they did a really good job, and they put forward a really good offer. This shouldn't become between us and Miami. I really want to say they behaved accurately. They sent us. They were not pressing us. And then we always said, look. We are building our roster for next year, and we have some other things to do. Especially we have to look after those players who only have 1 year left contract, and but it's unlikely to almost impossible that we do this. And so they have been always respectful. And when I spoke with him yesterday again, he only wanted to assure that they are not behind all of the stories and that they respect our position. So I have to say that here because I really don't want that becomes a story between them and us, because otherwise they haven't behaved any other than a club that made an offer for another player where it didn't leak for whatever reason. So if we would think differently, we could have done that. But we're not thinking differently. We, like Michael said, we want to have a good team, and not only because Thomas is here, but Thomas is obviously the icing on the cake of that team, and because we believe that we're not done with this group, and that the vibe after the game, a couple of hours after the game, Miami was, I ran into a few players and they said, next year we go again, next year they take a revanche. And how do you do this if you try, or if you would be open to move all your players?
So Axel Schuster there, just talking about the whole Blackmon situation. I think now that we can say it's closed.
Yeah.
For now, anyway. I mean, there'll be other offers, I'm sure, that come in for him. And who knows, after the World Cup, how the season goes, he could still move on at any point. And we'll talk about new additions in the next part. Someone that has departed, though, of course, Zach, Ali Ahmed. And I just want to finish this part by giving huge congratulations to Ali.
Yeah.
Got his first start for Norwich on Saturday at Wrexham as well.
Yeah.
Nice big showcase game. What a first 10 minutes. His first assist, crashed one off the crossbar as well from outside the box. 2-1 win for the Canaries. Going great. Fans raving about him as well. Delighted for him. Only played the first half as well because Philip Clement afterwards said he's not at match fitness yet,
No.
so we don't want to rush him. So if you get a half like that out of him, the fans are going to be happy. But obviously, he does need to get up to speed ASAP.
Yeah, no, I watched the highlights of the game, and yeah, he was great. I got I got a text from Chad Rempel, just being like, it looks like Norwich has got the Canadian outfit, like the men's national team version.
Yeah, they got the national team Ali, which is good. I mean, Ali's obviously going to stand out in Norwich for a number of reasons. The main one being he's only got 5 fingers on his hands.
Oh my goodness.
That one's for Tractor Boy
Tractor
Chris
Boy.
Steele.
Yeah.
But yeah, huge congratulations to Ali. I sent him a little message saying well done, and we'll get a chat with him in the next couple of weeks as well, just about his move and how he's settling in at Norwich. Have you seen all the kerfuffle around Josh Sargent?
Is it going to Toronto?
Well, he's pushing for the move to Toronto, but because Norwich are in a relegation battle, they don't want to let him go. He doesn't seem happy about that, so they've relegated him to the under-21 team. So he's training with the U21s.
This is where we're supposed to make a joke about that being TFC's level the last couple of years.
Yeah, probably. 18 million is what they're wanting to pay for him.
The money seems crazy to me.
Have they learned nothing?
But we've watched him come through the Bundesliga and stuff, play at Werder Bremen, and he can be a quality player, a good player. I've seen him play for the national team, obviously. But they've
just had a third child, so that's why he's wanting to get back to North America. But even with that, why?
No, but the money seems so much.
Yeah. Maybe no one else is wanting to pay that kind of money wages for him as well, which is why Toronto. But yeah, but maybe he's watched Ali and he's like, oh, I'd rather stay and play with Ali to the end of the season because Norwich don't want to let him go, and that makes total sense. Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on Ali.
How will Toronto pivot if it doesn't go through? That'll be interesting too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll have to turn their attention elsewhere or wait. And it already feels like a rebuilding year for them there. But, I mean, the Whitecaps will need to make some additions. They've got one at the time of recording and rumours of another. So we're going to look at that and some other Whitecaps chat in the next part after the first of 2 songs this episode from our Artists of the Month.
I'm Tristan Blackmon, and this is the AFTN Soccer Show.
There's a little man in a little house with a little pet dog and a little pet mouse. I know where he lives and I'll visit him. We have Sunday tea, sausages and beans. I know where he lives. Cause I know where Sid Barrett lives. He was very famous once upon a time, and no one knows, even if he's alive. But I know where he lives, and I'll visit him in a little hut in Cambridge. I know where he lives. Cause I know where Sid Barrett lives.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our Artists of the Month for January. London post-punk legends, television personalities. Their 4th single, released in February 1981, I Know Where Sid Barrett Lives. Taken from the 2019 release, Some Kind of Happening, a singles compilation. And you can definitely hear Sid Barrett's influence in the band's sound and lyrics, and they covered a couple of Sid Barrett songs like Bike and Apples and Oranges. And I don't know, are you familiar with Sid Barrett? Was that?
No.
Former guy in Pink Floyd, wrote all their songs, did vocals on a lot of their songs.
Oh, okay, that rings a bell now. Yes, did you say? Yeah, okay.
Went on a weekend discovery trip in the woods with psychedelic drugs, was never the same ever again. Basically had a mental breakdown,
Like he
left
watched
the band.
he watched Pink Floyd with we watched the what's it called, Wizard of Oz with Pink Floyd and drugs and
It's like Pink Floyd, their early stuff that Syd Barrett wrote. Like Syd Barrett was a musical genius. I've got loads of his albums. I don't know why we haven't kind of had him as an artist of the month. Should do that actually, maybe next month. But it was such a sad tale because there was times when he, after that whole drug episode, he was still in the band. They wouldn't plug his guitar in because he didn't know what he was doing. So he was on stage playing, but it wasn't doing anything because he had no idea what was going on.
because he was so out of it, so high.
Yeah. So they had to just kick him out. And then 1974, they wrote a song about him called Wish You Were Here. And he randomly turned up at the recording studio as they were recording it. And they didn't recognize him. And then he was just a recluse. He lived with his mum and no one knew how he was. And that's why that song, I Know Where Syd Barrett Lives. Because, yeah, he just put on lots of weight, shaved off all his hair, still had mental health issues because of it all. And it was just a sad, sad end.
That is sad.
Very talented guy. But let's get back into happier things. Whitecaps chat. We've got a new addition. He's ginger. I like ginger players. Someone said that we needed to do a flash 5 of top 5 ginger Whitecaps players. So I'll work on that.
Baza?
Oh, I mean, Barry Robson's number 1.
I'm trying to think of others.
Tim Parker?
Oh, yeah. Kirk has said Tim Parker. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, let us know your favourite Whitecaps gingers. I mean, right now, Oliver Larraz is in the top 3 because we can't think of anyone else. The 24-year-old midfielder. And actually, I'm saying he's in top 3. I think a lot of folk will still have him above Barry Robson, hasn't even kicked a ball yet in a Whitecaps jersey.
Oh, my.
The 24-year-old midfielder comes to the Whitecaps via free agency, signed on a contract. Interestingly, signed on a contract through to June 2027 with a club option for the 2027-28 season. So this is the first contract that is to the end of the short sprint season next year. And now how all these contracts are going to get kind of organised going forward. But he comes from Colorado Rapids, 87 appearances for the Rapids, 3 goals, 4 assists. He came through the Rapids Academy, so he's a homegrown talent for Colorado. He was signed to a homegrown deal in March 2021, played in the USL with San Diego Loyal, RIP, MLS Next Pro with Rapids 2 before breaking through into the first team. Now, the Rapids fans are disappointed to see him go, especially for nothing, and that's always a good sign.
Yeah, totally.
And a German connection for you. Whilst coming through the Rapids Academy, he played for German club Duisburg in the U19 Bundesliga West in 2019. 4 appearances for them. Now, he's primarily an 8, good in a double pivot, intelligent player, good football IQ, good passing qualities, good defensive play as well. I think this will be a good depth addition. I've got to be honest, I don't really remember him playing games at Colorado. Like his possession stats aren't great, but the Rapids weren't really a possession-oriented team. So I mean,
they've always been like an altitude-oriented team. No, all joking aside, what is it? What do you, in this moment? Obviously, things will fluctuate or progress. What does this mean for like a JC Gando or like?
I mean, I would have Gando above him, but I mean, the thing is, Axel said when I had talked about additions in the last part there, Tim, he's maybe looking at adding 3 or 4 more.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 roster spots left. There's no international spots available. So that makes it sound like there could be some players moving on. So you wonder, did one of the young lads that signed, like Jorovic, maybe get loaned to the CPL, free up a spot? Obviously not Gerasimenkov because he's just come back from the CPL. Maybe Gando or Pierre get loaned, although striking options are a little bit scant. So unless one of the 3 or 4 coming in is a forward, I don't see them necessarily going out.
It just feels like with the losses, there's been 2 significant losses. Who, there's pace there in Jaden, and there's wing trickery, at least in Ali. It just feels like they haven't. It feels like they don't have to bring in a huge name or anything.
Oh no, I mean,
they got to bring
they've
someone
got Kenji, Ryan, and Sabi for those wide roles.
Yeah,
and they're being linked now
with another Peruvian, right?
Reports down in Peru.
Yeah,
they're interested in winger Max Lauren Castro, recently turned 18, currently plays for Sporting Cristal, already has 2 caps for Peru's senior national team. Interestingly, he's a fullback that's converted to a winger. And I'd said in last week's show, maybe they'll look at doing that with Bo Valina, who I watched Bo Valina playing for Australia's under-23s in the U23 Asian Cup. And I don't know where he was playing in one of the games. It seemed like in the middle of the park. It was really bizarre. But they got knocked out by Korea. They gave up an 88th minute winner in the knockout stages. So they're out. So that's their Olympic dreams dead as well, sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, Castro looks a really good prospect. He can play in both wings, but he's predominantly on the left. According to Transfer Market, 60 overalls appearances for Sporting Cristal, 4 goals, 9 assists. The fee's rumoured to be $2 million. LAFC are also apparently in the hunt for him. So I don't know, maybe the Whitecaps have discovery rights on him. Maybe the fact that you have got Kenji here, another Peruvian, and how well he's integrated into the team will be a good selling point. But he looks a very exciting prospect. And 2 caps already for the senior national team. I mean, you don't get that as an 18-year-old without having talent.
Yeah, and I know last year, like when you didn't have gold for so much of the season. I don't want to use that horrible phrase. It feels like he's a fresh player in the squad.
Yeah, just like Salmon Ranko and Sean Lowe.
But it feels like this kid, this other Peruvian youngster, is not. Yeah, I feel like they need there needs to be at least one more proven kind of, not just, that's going to be hopefully a depth piece, or hopefully like a blue chip that, comes good or whatever. Like, I feel like they still need one more at least one more solid signing, whether maybe not on the wing, especially if this guy comes in, but center back. Yeah, I don't know. We just talked in the last part about how, Blackmon seems to be not going anywhere. Is all the Kubas talk totally dead too? Like that's
seems to be. Yeah, he's very, very, very happy here. I mean, we're not going to be getting any of the draft picks. Well, Yaida Zulaga might still join WFC too. And to be honest, he was of the 4 that they picked, he was the one I was least excited about. But like Zach Ramsey, Connor Lofi, and Daniel Lugo are all staying in college. So I'd asked about Ramsey before last week's show, and I meant to mention it on last week's show and then totally forgot to do it. But then it was confirmed this week that he isn't coming. And it makes sense because, I mean, like Ramsey is a sophomore, and like Lugo as well's just come off his sophomore season. These are young guys. The only thing I would say about that, like the Whitecaps keep their rights until 2027. But if you're going into if you're putting yourself into the draft, but you're going to stay in college, don't put yourself in the draft. I think this should go back to it's seniors. Seniors or players that will definitely come out of college.
Yeah, where you have to declare, right?
Yeah. Otherwise,
the problem with that whole declaring thing, though, Michael, is that so many of them, like just get brought into camp and end up on the second teams. And so for I think a lot of players, like,
Yeah.
is that really better for my life long term? Or would going to college or staying in college for another year or finishing my degree before I try and break my way through a second team be better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't knock the guys for doing that because they should. Like, they should get their degree, get their education, set themselves up. In that case, don't put yourself in the draft.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you're not taken in the first round, the chances of you breaking into the first team early are slim. I mean, let's be honest. And even the ones that do break in, it's what minutes do they get? Not everyone's going to be a Tate Johnson.
Yeah, that's true.
Talking of Tate Johnson, for New Year, I don't know if you saw this on the Whitecaps Instagram, the players were asked, what's your New Year's resolutions? And Sebastian Berhalter's was to stop picking on Tate Johnson as much this year. And then the picture of him, 2 pictures of him today in training camp, he's got him in a headlock.
Oh my.
So he's not living up to that resolution. But yeah, we'll see what the week brings. I feel it's going to be a quiet week this coming week in Whitecapsland. This might be the week that we do our Whitecaps round table. I know I've been promising that for years, but hopefully. Got a little bit more Whitecaps news to talk about in this part. First of all, WFC2 head coach mentioned Ricardo Clark had gone to Seattle Sounders as assistant. So I asked Axel about how the search for a replacement is going. Here's what he had to say about that.
Yeah, no update. We have one top candidate, and we're actually in exchange with him. He has watched several games now, and let's see. We give him the time. We have pretty much focused on him, while we have like 2 or 3 other candidates who are really interested in the job. But we think he would be I would say a step forward for us in total as an organization in what we are doing and making and getting players with his experience, getting players closer to the first team. And I'm really thankful and I'm very happy that Ricardo found a job. I think with Ricardo, it was only that now being for so many years here and with his ambitions, that he needed some form of a change. We would be stuck in the same scenario for too long. And with his CV and his experience and his connections, it was needed that he can do a next step for himself and challenge himself somewhere else. And so we use that now as an opportunity to maybe bring in a complete total profile. But we manage the group. Some of the players are coming with us to Spain, so we have another 2-3 weeks before we would need really a coach. And I don't think it will take that long.
So, sounds like they've got a candidate in mind. It was the last question he was about to finish when I threw that in, and I wanted to follow up and say, does Jesper have any input in it? But I didn't get a chance to. But it sounds like they've identified a good candidate. It sounds like it's somebody that's going to be new to the organisation as well. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes. And we'll talk about coaching appointments in the next part as well for Vancouver FC and Whitecaps and Vancouver FC and Pacific FC and Langley United and all those other teams outside of BC that we don't care about. They all learned their Canadian Championship pathway on Saturday. We were wondering when the draw was going to be, and it was announced on Thursday. Oh, it's going to be on Saturday.
Yeah.
So Whitecaps going for an unprecedented 5-peat. They know their path now on the way to achieving that history. So the tournament this year, it's the same format as last year in terms of it being single game first round, 2-legged quarterfinals and semi-finals, and a one-off final. But there are some tweaks, such as no redrawing of the top 4 teams at the semi-final stage. We now know everyone's path and everyone's bracket. The final, we know now it's going to be the team that comes through the Western bracket that's going to host that. So another chance for the final to be at BC Place. There's going to be extra time for games that are tied after 90 minutes, which I think we're both very happy about.
Yeah, that's one of the steps forward,
Yeah.
despite some steps back.
Some steps back, yes. Let's look at that. So the Whitecaps got a bye to the quarterfinals as champions.
Well,
If there's 15 teams, it makes sense.
With 15 teams, that's how it should be.
Yeah, 16 teams, no team gets a bye. That's how it should be. Hopefully that is how it will be down the road. But this year, at the behest of MLS teams, which is what we've been told, although you kind of feel it's more two of the three MLS teams in particular, there's seeding. And the MLS teams cannot meet each other ahead of the semi-final stage.
That's unfortunate. It was really nice last year when they met. Toronto, Montreal met so early.
I thought it made a much more interesting tournament. Obviously biased as a Whitecaps fan, and it made the Whitecaps have an easy path to the final. The seeding is based on rankings over the last 4 years of results.
Which is interesting, because I know some people who've been trying to understand how they do it.
Yeah, folk have been trying to back work that to see exactly how Forge are seeded second, Toronto are seeded third, and Montreal are seeded fourth.
Yeah.
But what it means is the second and third teams are in the East, so Forge and TFC are in the East. Montreal are now the Western team.
That is a little bit awkward.
Bizarre. It's the problem, though, really, of just where all the teams are just now. Valor going out before Supra comes in. Otherwise, it would have been a 16 team. You still would have had this seeding thing. That is the kind of big problem. I mean, I think it's absolute bullshit. No team should be seeded. Open draw. You get what you get.
Yeah.
Sure, it's tougher on the East because you've got two MLS teams. But if you have just a complete random draw and no East and West brackets, and it doesn't matter. And I know why they're doing it, and especially with League One sides that they want to have it regional to start with. I just don't think that's ideal anymore either.
No. That does need to change, but I understand why they do that part for the financial reasons now.
Yeah.
One day, though, the goal has to be for it to be fully open and fully, even the host or whatever has to be drawn, not seeded.
Yeah.
That's the proper way it needs to be done.
Well, we spoke at the start about the Copa del Rey. That's a tournament, which is what I've pushed for here for many years, that the lower seed should host.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, host, but I guess we need to define host, right? Because
yes,
a host with all the cost of the traveling team is maybe a bit much if you're making it all the time, but
Canada's expanse, vastness, and expense of travelling makes it difficult. Like the Scottish Cup was this weekend. Non-league side, Auchinleck Talbot, got drawn to face Celtic. They wanted to play that at their home stadium. The police wouldn't let them. They move it to Kilmarnock, solely because they didn't trust how the Celtic fans were going to behave. That was why they had to move it. And Auchinleck were furious. Celtic only won 2-0. If that had been at Auchinleck's ground, who knows how that game would have gone.
Yeah.
It could have been a huge shock. But, I mean, even 2-0 was a huge shock. But, yeah, I'd like to see the lower seed teams getting to host it as well. From a BC perspective, the first round features three BC sides. And, of course, two of them had to get drawn together. But we'll come to that. So Pacific FC were first out. And I wasn't paying full attention to the draw because I was working on something. I was like, oh, Pacific's out. And then I saw Vancouver FC out. And I was like, oh, Pacific FC, Vancouver FC again in the first round. I wasn't paying attention. And then I looked up and I was like, wait, how's Pacific playing Cavalry? So I haven't gone back to watch it. So I'm very confused. I don't know how that happened.
I didn't watch it at all because I was at the U19 match and someone pulled up their phone and said, we've got Langley United.
It was weird to me that Pacific were first out, Vancouver were second, but they weren't playing each other. They were slotting it.
I don't know how that worked.
I don't know.
I haven't
But
gone back to watch the draw either. I've seen all the brackets and
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Well, I don't have one soccer at the moment, and I didn't see the point of paying $5 in Telus for the Canada friendly and watching the draw, especially when the draw was free on YouTube. So I just watched it on that. But yeah, so it's Pacific against Cavalry. The winners of that will move on to play the Whitecaps over 2 legs. First round is scheduled to be on the islands sometime between May 5th and the 10th. The other one, the Langley Derby, Vancouver FC hosting the team that won League One with the help of some Vancouver FC players, so that could be interesting. Langley United in the first round, a Langley Derby. I'm excited for that. I don't think he's still in the coaching staff, unless I missed it in the announcement. Azad Palani, is he still in the VFC coaching staff? Because he is the head coach of Langley United.
Yeah, he is involved at VFC. He was an assistant coach last year. I don't know if there's been clarification and update on his role, but obviously with the Dasso announcement, assistant coach, I could see some fluctuation happening there. But we'll wait for official confirmation on that.
Okay. He'll be fired up then, depending on how that plays out for taking his team to Vancouver FC.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem in this, Michael, is the CSA needs to have, or needs to come up with, I mean, they should already have had, but needs to come up with some rules around this stuff, right? Because now you have, a club who's playing a club that they're affiliated with. And so what does that look like?
Well, I can't say too much, but I know talks are undergoing. And it's not just in BC, because it's also a situation out in Ontario.
Oh, yeah.
Clubs that are not affiliated with a CPL side are not happy that clubs can get players loaned to them and then end up advancing and being in the Canadian Championship.
Yeah.
Now, whilst it's great to have a Langley Derby, it would be way better if those teams weren't playing each other. I've got to say.
Well, or it would be better if they were playing each other and there wasn't an affiliation or this overlap.
That too. And I'm not just saying that as sour grapes from a TSS point of view either. Because if TSS were the affiliate with Vancouver FC, I'd feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you can't have the team that's. And what I will say, before anyone listening to this maybe has a go at me, Langley FC fully deserved the League One title. They were the best team all season, and they did it for the vast majority of it without the help of the Vancouver FC players. But there were some games where the Vancouver FC players that were loaned to them had a considerable impact on the result. And in the end, they just won the league by, I think, a point or in goal difference. Or
the contribution of those players was not insignificant. You're not wrong. But the unfortunate thing is, it appears, as far as I understand it at this moment, it appears as we now have a situation that should have been, it very much was foreseeable, and there was no parameter set in place, and now they're going to have to do something, or now they should do something to put some kind of policy or whatever in place. And it's not going to make people happy, or it's going to make people frustrated, or not, whatever. Yeah. Whereas if there was a clear understanding of what this was going to look like all along, then whatever. I mean,
but there needs to be these affiliations, so that's the thing, because these French players at the CPL sides need a place to play, need to get minutes.
Absolutely.
The easy answer is the CPL sides put teams in League One. And I would hope that is something that happens down the road in expansion of the league. Obviously, they can't then go into the Canadian Championship if they win the league.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, Bundesliga in Germany, the second teams could go into the cup. I think they've stopped that now, but they used to be able to.
Well, US Open Cup, it's like Portland had Portland 2 and Portland Under-23 at one point in one of the year's competitions.
Yeah.
And I love stuff like that.
But there's, I mean, for those who maybe don't follow, or maybe not tracking with all this is, I mean, on a different scale, this is what happened with Crystal Palace this year, right? Where they win an FA Cup, they qualify for Europe, and then they're told, oh yeah, you can't play in that because some of your owners overlap with whoever it was, Olympique Lyon, or I can't remember which club it was. And it's like, yeah, so they get preference and you're dropping down to the conference. I mean, despite them trying to do stuff, I guess in the Palace's case, they didn't do it in time or whatever. But no, it was, very, 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 very frustrating. That was a very frustrating situation. And hopefully with this, some kind of amicable resolution can be set forward so that the clubs and the community as a whole will understand what's going on and what's allowed to happen and what's not happening and how that will impact this game, because you want this to just be a meaningful cup match, right? And you know that those Langley United players will be up for it, but you want it to be all with everyone's understanding of how this is working.
Well, they also want to impress the VFC and say, look, we should be playing in the CPL.
Totally.
But if there's any controversial moment, folk will be like, oh, well, I wonder why that penalty was given away in the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
Because the winner of this goes on to face Montreal. If they get past Calgary Blizzard, which they should. But it's a two-legged tie in Montreal. Now, Langley United going to Montreal, it would be like TSS going to Whitecaps potential that last year. They're going to get destroyed. Vancouver FC Montreal would be a very interesting one. Because I joked to you when I saw Montreal were in the West, I was like, hey, you could have a trip to Montreal coming up.
Yeah, but how many trips to Montreal can I do in 1 year?
Well, I might be going there in September if the Whitecaps get them in the semi-finals.
There you go.
So, yeah, interesting. So those first-round games between May 5th and 10th. Now, the quarterfinals, the Whitecaps are going to have to move their home quarterfinal. The first leg is on July 8th, which is the day after the round of 16 game at BC Place. But that would be either on the island or in Calgary. The second leg is scheduled for July 12th or 13th. So there's no more BC Place World Cup games, but FIFA are still controlling the stadium.
Yeah.
So the Whitecaps are not able to get into BC Place at that point.
What about Tacoma? Or not Tacoma, or Spokane. Yeah, that's what it's.
Oh, yeah, we haven't mentioned it. I'll mention that.
Have we not talked about that? I forgot.
No.
Oh, okay. You and I were just talking about that.
Yeah, it was just us that was talking about that. So, I mean, you've got to feel they'll probably play it at Swangard, which will be a nice little game at Swangard, and maybe get some extra bleachers in there, or like a mid-July summer evening at Swangard. Maybe still some World Cup fans in the city that might want to come along to that. So that would be good. I don't think it's ideal playing games during the World Cup anyway, but we knew it was going to be tough. Toronto, if they're hosting their quarterfinal, they don't have to play their game until August 11th.
Well, why is that? Dispensation?
Yeah, folk will see that and think, well, why are the Whitecaps not able to play then? The Whitecaps are in the League's Cup. TFC aren't.
Right.
So they have to play it in July.
Okay. Thanks for helping me understand that.
Yeah, because the last game at BMO is on July 2nd, so there's a big gap, but FIFA's still controlling the stadium.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, they got to take things down and whatever,
yeah. I'm worried that Jimmy Brennan is going to get sanctioned by One Soccer or the CSA after picking the Western Ball to be the bracket that hosts the final on October 21st. He obviously couldn't tell what one was hot and cold.
You're like, Jimmy, we said, yeah. Exactly.
We deliberately said, pick the icy one. But it hurt my fingers. But yeah, finals on October 21st. It's going to be the Western team hosting it. So hopefully another game at BC Place, which would be good because the Whitecaps have a horrendous 4-game road spell in October. That game would be between games in Austin and Colorado. So it's good for the fans to be able to get into to see games as well. So last little bit then to talk about, we touched on it there. If the Whitecaps, or when the Whitecaps get past their first round match in the Champions Cup, they take on Seattle. And Seattle can't play their home game at Quest Field or Lumen Field or whatever it's called now because of preparations for the World Cup. So instead of playing that in Tacoma, they're playing it in Spokane.
Yeah.
Thomas Muller is going to play a competitive cup game in Spokane, Washington. I think you'll love it.
Yeah.
I hope to make the trip. I'll probably drive. I priced the flights. You've got to change at Seattle anyway. There's no direct flights.
How far of a drive is it?
6.5 hours. It's
Oh,
nothing. It's
yeah.
like going to Portland.
Are you
It
taking the-
depends on weather, snow and stuff, because I don't have snow tires.
Are you
But
taking
folk
the-
have told me it should be fine mid-March, that the snow will be pretty much gone.
Are you taking the wife or?
Oh, yeah. We'll have...
Oh, okay.
Which it's a second trip to America right after being down to the trip to Oregon. So we'll see. But yeah, that'll be an interesting little adventure. But that is it for our Whitecaps chat. We talked a little bit about Vancouver FC there. We're going to talk more about them in the next part. And we're going to be back with that after the second of our songs this episode from our Artist of the Month.
Hi, I'm Basti Schonlo, and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
When I buy my mansion, I'll invite the world to stay, so everyone can see a picture of Dorian Gray. We sit by the river, drinking lemon tea, and there's 1,000 midget Russians in midget submarines. You can come and stay, you can bring your friends, you can come and stay for a day and see a picture of Dorian Gray. Take you to my mansion, can see my gallery, lots of pretty pictures, all of them of me. We're set by the river, drinking lemon tea, and tiny cucumber sandwiches made by Emily. You can come and stay, you can bring your friends, you can come and stay for a day and see a picture of Dorian Gray. And see a picture of Dorian Gray.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the second of two songs this episode from our Artist of the Month, London post-punk band, television personalities, and we're featuring songs that were their early singles, and you can find them on the 2019 release Some Kinda Happening, a singles compilation of A-sides and B-sides. And that was their sixth single that you heard to kick off this part, a double A-side release with Biff Bang Pow in 1983, and this was more the B-side of the double A-side, if that makes sense. It was the flip side of it anyway, but it's one of my favourite television personality songs, A Picture of Dorian Gray. As we mentioned the book by Oscar Wilde in the introduction, I said we would revisit it later in the show, and that is why. So we're going to move our attention away from the Whitecaps in this part, keep it though to the domestic game here in Vancouver and turn it to Vancouver FC. We talked about the path that waits ahead for the CPL side in the Canadian Championship after Saturday's draw. And it's been a busy week for them, both on and off the pitch. Still crazy to think that in just over 2 weeks' time, they're going to be playing their first game of the season when Cruz Azul come to Langley in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And finally, we can talk about something we've known about for a couple of weeks. It was officially announced over 2 days, two different announcements this past week. There's a new coaching team in charge, or officially in charge of the team. Former Whitecaps captain Martin Nash has lost the interim tag. New contract signed. When he took over as interim last year, Zach, it was like he's going to be interim. He's really head of development. We'll look to get a new coach coming in. But he's just come in, done so well, went on a great run. League, I know, didn't get the spot that you were hoping for off bottom, but some good performances, which is key to this as well. The Canadian Championship, the final performance, taking a group of players that didn't seem to have the best brought out of them from Afshin Goatbay at the start of the season, you've got to say, and then not fully transforming the team, but they looked so much better, so much more cohesive, and with a better kind of structure and game plan. Fully deserves to have this opportunity now to lose the interim tag, made head coach. Well done, Marty.
Yeah, super stoked for him, and I think this is part of the goal. I think he's really going to bring a stabilizing force like he did last year, and help the club continue the progression that you saw at the end of last season, but really help them, be more steadily competitive or consistently competitive in the league. And I think, like, all joking aside, because there's lots of jokes to be made, but I think that really is just the desire of people. I think when you think back to last year, or even though maybe the last 2 years, it's just really difficult going to the games, being like not just like having low expectations, but like expecting not to win.
Yeah,
right. There were so few.
I mean, in all honesty, that is what it was.
Yeah,
like, a year ago, I mean, it's hard to have sat here and been enthused about what was to come for Vancouver FC.
Yeah, I mean, I was encouraged about some of the signings.
You were more encouraged than me.
Yeah, and I was encouraged that the signings that actually, as the season got started and were made, things like Mosqueda, later, Hugo was, better than anyone would have thought. There were really some really encouraging things. But yeah, at this moment, this moment, I'm maybe more concerned, if this is possible, I'm more concerned maybe about the squad composition at this moment, this time this year than maybe I was last year.
But part of that is because you've got a game now 2 months earlier than you did last year. Yeah,
exactly. And there are still a few significant unknowns that will hopefully, play out. But all of that to say is that the whole thing with Marty Nash is that he's been in that interim role, and even though this announcement has come at this late date, it's kind of been known that he was. So he's been involved in the whole process of recruitment, of building the squad, and bringing his expertise and knowledge of the league, and also through some of his connections and all that kind of stuff. And so that's all really encouraging. And I hope that he is able to kind of get the players to perform to their best in like he did for many of the matches he oversaw last year.
He did transform the team, and he brought a buzz and an excitement. And I know a lot of folk, they looked at him at York, but he had a decent spell initially at York, and then it kind of just went off the rails a little bit for him there. And he's learned a lot as an assistant under Tommy at Cavalry, and then Foothills before that as well. He's been in the Whitecap system. He was watching and observing at the Whitecaps when he was in between jobs. He's got contacts as well throughout the game. So he fully deserves this. Delighted that he got it. And he's got a new right-hand man, a new number 2, and another well-known name in BC soccer and Whitecapsland, Canadian soccer. Nick Dazovic is back coaching in BC as his assistant.
And just as a reminder, Michael, you and I need to always have the recorders rolling.
Oh, yes.
We should just have it like on when we're in the room with him, or he's coming into the room. Do you remember that?
Oh, I'm just remembering all the stories as well that he was telling us. Some on the record, some off the record.
I can't remember the phrase he used or whatever. I just remember that it was me, you, and maybe Felipe, and we were at the Whitecaps training facility, and we were doing an interview one-on-one, or an exclusive with him, and he said something before we started. And we were like, "Oh, that's gold." We were like, "Can you just say that again?" And we turned on our things. He's like, "No, you missed it. No, I'm not saying it again." I think if I'm not wrong, it almost might have been like a Danielle Henry, like a criticism of TFC or something. But it was gold.
The stories he was telling about his time in St. Johnson as well, and training
Yeah,
in public
yeah,
parks and everything. Oh, he's such a character. And most recently, he's been at Detroit City.
yes. But with Deitch,
His
Danny
name
Dichio.
was out there for the St. Johnston job. Now, I didn't think for a minute he had a chance of getting it. I think he had been maybe out of the Scottish game for too long to suddenly go to a team that was fighting a relegation battle. Now, the guy that did get it got them relegated, but he's back in the second tier now, and they're doing well, and they're top of the table, and etc. etc. But like Dazo's name was at least put out there, so he is highly thought of. Coming in as an assistant, he had been head coach at WFC2 initially. One of the criticisms, though, that was kind of levelled at him there was he wasn't maybe fully up to speed with some of the metric side of things in the modern game. As assistant, he doesn't need to be. He's got other folk that's in charge of that. And he can bring his coaching knowledge and his skills to the game, bring on the young players, focus on the on-pitch stuff, which is what he loves and what he thrives on.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to see him, what he can bring to the staff, the ways in which he'll support Martin, obviously, and just how he'll help get the best out of the squad. I think his experiences, like you said, as a player are huge. I think his experiences as coaching at youth levels, at different levels, being an assistant coach, his time in Toronto, even this last spell with Danny Dichio at Detroit City FC, I think are going to be really invaluable in terms of what he'll offer to the squad and what he'll bring to the club.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck to both those guys. And they're going to be in competitive action in just over 2 weeks' time, Zach.
Yep.
Crazy, crazy times. A little bit more Vancouver FC news to round off this part. This time more off the pitch drama. So a couple of shows ago, we mentioned Afshin Goatby, former head coach of Vancouver FC, was taking 6-5 Sports and Entertainment and Dean Shillington to court, suing for money that he alleged he had loaned the club, or loaned 6-5 for the club, and hadn't had it paid back. We knew from initial responses that Vancouver FC, 6-5 Entertainment were going to do a response to that. And that landed this week, January 15th. Court documents were filed. And it was a response to Goatby's filing and a counterclaim as well. And we'll point out as we get into this that it should be noted that neither Afshin Goatby's claim or 6-5's counterclaim have been tested in the court. So we're just presenting the statements made in these court documents that were filed last week from 6-5 and Dean Shillington. So the response, Zach, sees 6-5, and for the rest of this, we'll just say 6-5. We won't necessarily mention Dean. But the response sees 6-5 deny the allegation of facts contained in Goatby's claim filed, and saying that it was an investment rather than a loan, which is something you did speculate on when we first talked about this.
Yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for Afshin. I know that maybe isn't a universal opinion, but yeah, when this was announced, it just didn't add up. It didn't make sense for multiple reasons. And I know we're now entering waters as we continue to talk about this. We're entering waters of kind of like a he said, or they said, he said kind of situation. And there are obviously very divergent perspectives on what was said or what was committed. But
yeah, like polar opposite versions of events.
But the language, I mean, a couple of things. One, the language of loan never made sense to me at all, because that's not how this is all set up, right? And like I can't remember what I said when we last talked about this, but having been in conversations with the ownership of Vancouver FC since 2017, and various people at various points along the way, different individuals saying, I would like to be involved.
Yeah, I remember what you said now.
Yeah, can I be involved in ownership? Can I own part of the club? If I can be an owner, like, will I get to have a say? Like, can I have a say, or is it like I'm a silent partner, or how does it all look? And so I guess I hear different things about how they were doing this, and there were
And the
and
buy-in
then
amount that was mentioned was
yes,
500,000.
I've that was one of the amounts I heard. I think the first amount I heard was $250,000, and then I think later I heard 500,000. But again, and those amounts though are also my understanding, because I mean, you and I, this is not an area, the legal stuff and even some of this financial stuff, as much as you have worked in a bank and were, involved in the bank world, this investment stuff is not our forte.
Yeah, this is all.
So having talked to people who understand this world and are in this world, it helped me to understand some of it better. It's like that, even though the amounts here, these are kind of like the base amounts that you get people invest in these types of things, because you need to have that kind of amount of availability and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of yeah. Anyways, not to take, I guess I am taking sides, but like my understanding is this is not a loan. Oh, sorry. The other thing I will say is, and multiple people have kind of conferred this with me, this didn't have anything to do with cash flow issues at the time. And we'll talk more about the amount and the request for the investment to be returned and all that kind of stuff as maybe as we go along.
Well, yeah, because also in their response, 6-5 say that Goatby knew or ought to have known that it was subordinate to existing secured creditors, that the repayment of the loan was dependent on future liquidity events, which 6-5 say haven't happened yet, and the speculation is one of those is the sale of Pacific FC, and that repayment would be made in accordance with priorities held by existing creditors.
Yeah.
And you can shed a bit of light on that as well.
Okay. So when you and I read that, and as we had a discussion, so if anyone who listens to what we talked about a few weeks ago or goes back to listen to it, you and I listen to those words with kind of like layperson's ears of not speaking this language, right? So again, this is how it's people who understand that world have explained it to me, right? When you have it's like a fund, right? This is investors into the club and the money all goes into a fund or whatever. The term creditors here is not what you and I think initially thought. From all the things
I took it from a banking thing of what a creditor is.
Exactly. It's like you thought, okay, they owe someone money. What creditors means in this instance is the liquidity event would be like, when the fund or the organization has a windfall for whether it's, earning money, or like you said, in the case of Pacific was sold, or I'm not 100% sure if the stadium stuff is a part of this, right? Because they have a stadium company, 6-5. So maybe it could be like, hey, if they sell 10 stadiums or put up 10 stadiums around the country, then that's a liquidity event, or that reaches a threshold or whatever. But when it talks about then paying the creditors, what it means is it's paying, or it's an opportunity to be paid of the people who have invested into that fund. So the quote unquote creditors are those who have invested into the fund. It's not like, hey, they owe the Triple O's truck who's been coming to games or whatever. They owe them money, or they owe, their physiotherapist money, or they owe LEC rent or something. It's not that at all.
I mean, in layman's terms then, and from a banking side, it's like if you take out a secured loan.
Yes. Yeah.
If you then want to pay that out, the bank's got the security on your house. So it's like if you sell your house, the bank, as the first secured from the secured loan, get any money from the profits to pay off your secured loan.
I think that might be a fair way of looking at it. And one way, I heard this described too, is like, just like with your mortgage on your house or whatever, you can't just go and say, hey, bank, give me my money for my mortgage. There are terms. There are ways, there are, terms that under which you agree at the beginning of when you can get that, what will that look like? And everyone, I think most people who have some kind of mortgage know that if you want to do something different than what the terms were, then you're gonna face, a penalty or whatever. So like if you go into a fund, and the fund is, let's just say, for sake of it, ease of our minds, it's like, okay, you're locked in for 10 years. Well, if after 7 years you're like, yeah, I need money now, or you can get that money, but you might either get less, or you might not get all of it now, or it might be in payments, or like there, and you might not get like all of what you wanted. And so it seems to be as though these things were there's discrepancy over those terms, obviously, between these two parties.
Yeah. And this is where it's the he said thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you invest in a 2-year bond, it tells you can't get your money back within 2 years. So after a year, you can't go, I'd like my money back now.
Yeah.
Some will let you, but with a penalty.
Exactly.
Some will be like, no, not at all, because that money's getting used and you can't get it back for 2 years.
Exactly.
So it's exactly how this was drawn up. And then this is now what the courts need to decide by looking at whatever documentation exists. And 6-5 are basically saying, Dashing Goatby, show us this documentation that backs up what you're claiming here. And they're kind of claiming that there isn't that. They also claim that Goatby had indicated that he was happy to turn the loan into equity and then changed course and asked for repayment. The response claims that adding Dean Shillington as an additional defendant to 6-5 was, quote, an improper tactic blatantly intended to impair his reputation in the business and soccer community. Later on, it goes on to accuse Goatby of, again, quote, blackmail by litigation, which is, when you read that, it's like, that just jumps off the page at you.
Yeah.
I mean, should say all this is available in the court documents. You can pay your $6 and get it. Someone else paid for it and sent me a copy of it, so that's how I've seen that.
Yeah.
You can also find it on the Canucks Abroad Discord channel, actually, in the Vancouver FC chat forum, if anyone wants to read that in full.
Yeah. So, yeah. Dean Shillington, I obviously I know Dean. I haven't talked to him about this. But he is someone who's been in this world for, I think, a couple decades at least, and probably more.
Like we said, or I said, I'll put my hands up. From what Goatby filed, and I said this is just his version of events, Dean Shillington does not come across in it well.
No.
And that seems to be the general opinion from people. Hence this part.
Yeah. So this hurts, his reputation in that community, right? Because that community is all about trust and, meeting your commitments and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, from the soccer side, we said, why would you then want to invest in the club now? Because you're like, oh, what kind of practices are going on here? Yeah. And if it's not true, then that is impacting, which we'll come to with the counterclaim in a bit.
Yeah, which again, right now we're in this middle zone where no one can say, legally,
yes,
what is what. So
nothing's been proven in court. We don't know what the facts are, so we're just stating and quoting from both filings.
Yeah. The interesting thing, which a comment you made to me, I believe, is the unfortunate thing in these situations is when someone makes an allegation like this, the allegation gets a big headline.
Yeah.
But the rebuttal does not get as big of a headline.
So far from what I've seen, no. Northern Tribune, to their credit, they had done the report the first time. They've done a piece on this as well. But this was all over the place. But the return, the response filing and the counterclaim has not had that kind of media attention.
Yeah.
And again, folk remember the first thing they hear. It's like when someone gets accused of a crime, they might get found not guilty. Some people never hear that aspect of it, and they just remember what they first heard.
Yep. Yeah. And so AFTN has made a number of claims that are damaging if true. And now 6-5 and Dean Shillington have said, we believe those are not true and we want to battle this out. So
and they feel damaged by his claims.
Yeah. And so we won't know until either it gets battled out in court or there's a settlement. And if there's a settlement, maybe we won't even know because there might be NDAs and all that kind of stuff.
Because that's the thing. If there's a settlement, you would feel there will be. And for 6-5's reputation, like settling out of court isn't necessarily the best thing for them to do, but it would be the cheapest and it would just draw a line under this.
The other thing, before we get onto the counterclaim, which I think is really interesting in this, is in one sense, it feels like AFTN was throwing a lot of mud at Dean and 6-5 and the club in general. And I think the club's response is quite more balanced, if you will, except for there's one real dig in there where I think we all knew this, but just the way it was stated in there, right? Like, they basically says when we terminated him, we said publicly, because we didn't want to hurt his reputation, that we parted ways mutually, which I'm sure that is probably not something that Afshin would.
Well, funnily enough, when he filed his things the first time round, I saw a couple of folk commenting going, "Oh, not so mutual then after all."
Yeah.
The other thing from the response from 6-5, they accused Gotby of, again, quote, a breach of confidence and submitting a fictional account of discussions held, because some things and information he was given, they're saying was confidential. He's now put that in his claim, which was breaching the confidential things. So again, it comes down to really what was signed and various things like that. So 6-5 Sports and Entertainment, along with Dean Shillington, are now aiming for full dismissal of the claims from Afshin Gotby. And they've also filed a counterclaim of their own, with both 6-5 and Shillington seeking damages against Afshin Gotby for breach of confidence and abuse of process, including general and punitive damages, as well as costs and other relief. So the counterclaim thing makes me wonder, will it just go away, or does this have to go to court? And I know we've got a few lawyers listening to this. We'd love to get your insight into this now that you've seen both sides of it. Still a mess, but in some ways, like the old saying in the UK was, today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper.
Right.
So what was in the newspaper before, you just wrapped your fish and chips up in it, and the next day, to put into modern day lingo, people have such short attention spans. The news cycle is so fast moving and just so scary and crazy at the moment. People forget stuff. So maybe it can just go away and no one will talk about it. If it ends up going to court and getting dragged through court, it's definitely going to get a lot of coverage. So we've given both sides to it. We won't know anything. We won't make any judgments, but not ideal preparation to a season, it has to be said.
No, but again, just to come back to reiterate another thing about, like, all CPL clubs, none of them have a ton of money.
No.
But I think Vancouver FC isn't in the dire need that was painted by this, right? Just even look what's happening this year, right? They're doing preseason in Arizona, right? Before the Champions League games. I guess they're
facing off against Pa.
Yeah, going to be facing off against Pa's team, I think, a couple of times. But yeah, so some of the people out there who are like, oh, the club is going to disappear, or this is the demise of the league, or whatever. Multiple people again have kind of spoken with me and said, yeah, that's not the case. I mean, this obviously doesn't help anything, or it doesn't help, grow the game or grow the team or grow the league. But the sky is not falling as some people are trying to make this out to be. And again, I think with an understanding of what some of these terms actually mean is really, really, really helpful.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out. We'll get back to talking more on-pitch stuff in the final part of this week's show as we move away from the club game, talk about the international level, because Canada's road to 2026 continued in California on Saturday night. We'll be back chatting about that and bring you this week's Canada Soccer A to Z after this episode's song from the C86 cassette.
Hi, I'm Ralph Priso, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
You're still my friend. There's nothing I'd rather do.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode's track from the iconic C86 cassette released in 1986 by UK music magazine The NME. We're playing every song from it in order as a tribute to 40 years of that legendary and influential release. That is track 3 from it, from Bells Hill in Scotland, the Soup Dragons, and their song Pleasantly Surprised. That was a track that featured on their single release, Whole Wide World, that was released in May 1986. It was the band's 4th single release overall, and you can also find it on the compilation CD Hang 10, which we actually featured as an album of the month last year. And there's a football connection as well with the Soup Dragons. They are the current shirt sponsor of one of the jerseys for Bells Hill Athletic, a non-league football club in Scotland that play in the West of Scotland League. I've been trying to get hold of that jersey. The initial run sold out, so I'm on the wait list for when they get new ones in. But they're a great band. They changed from being the kind of jangly indie rock, indie pop style that you hear there to becoming more of a kind of dance-oriented band as well. The biggest hit was I'm Free, which got to number 5 in the UK charts and number 79 in the US Billboard charts back in 1990. The band take their name as well from a children's TV show that I used to watch growing up, The Clangers. A very weird UK children's TV show from the 70s, but then weren't they all? So we'll have track 4 from the C86 cassette in the next show. We'll get back to the football chat now, and we'll start this part with the latest instalment of our Canadian soccer A to Z. We're up to the letter C, and Zach, you get to go first this week.
So this one might not be like a sexy one, but I think it's a good one. I think it's an important one, and I'm going to go with Commonwealth. I think, again, it's in and of itself is not a sexy stadium. It's an outdoor Canadian pig sticking around, but it's been the site of some important, significant moments in Canadian football, men's and women's. It's hard not to. I mean, you might have been saving it for you.
I was.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
We can still do that for I.
Yeah. But yeah, like big games are like, yeah.
Because this is general, so.
Yeah. So having been
and
able
it hosted didn't it host the very first game in the Women's World Cup?
Oh, that I can't even remember.
I'll check that out while you do the rest of yours.
It was definitely a host because I was there for the Canada. There was at least one Canada game at Edmonton I was at. It was a group stage game. But yeah, having been there, and that was, I guess, November 2021 for those games against Costa Rica and Mexico, it was just so amazing. Like it was a shared experience with my son. It was a special trip with my son. But it was so incredible. And I know those weren't the clinching games. Obviously, the clinching game came, in Toronto against Jamaica. But without those two games and the game in Hamilton, like, yeah, that obviously all doesn't necessarily play out that way if we don't get those results. But it's just very, very memorable. I also remember one of my first ever games watching Canada there and I got to talk to Paul about it this last June when I was at training for the men's national team. Was the game where I can't remember who was it against. It might have been Costa Rica, or Honduras. I can't remember which CONCACAF team it was, but it was a game where I think it was Divas that kind of put up his foot at the end of a game to block a shot, and like the guy kicked into the bottom of his foot, and like the referee awarded a penalty. And Salteri, who was either not in the game or already substituted from the game, grabbed a water bottle and threw it from the bench after, like, towards the referee in the middle of the pitch or like in the box or whatever. And he, obviously got sent off for it. And then club games, Whitecaps versus FC Edmonton in the Voyageurs Cup. Got to see, was that twice, I think, in that stadium? Yeah, I think twice in that stadium. Some really, yeah, really good, just really good memories. And I think at the time it was U19 Women's World Cup. I think the final, Sinclair against the Americans, that Canadian side against the Americans in 2002, three, something like that, like early on in the early first half of that decade, sometime before the under 20 men's World Cup was it. Um, so yeah, it's just massive, massive games. And I know it was an unfortunate exclusion from Canada hosting the World Cup. For my recollection was that was based on FIFA's visit / infrastructure issues, I think, or
There
lack
there
of
was
infrastructure.
there was also issues regarding like transport from the stadium
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So
infrastructure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's I don't know. I think it's an important part of the Canadian story. So for me, for C, I went with Commonwealth.
No, it definitely is. And I checked and it did host the opening game in the 2015 Women's World Cup. It was the 1-0 win for Canada over China.
Oh,
Sinks penalty, 2 minutes into stoppage time.
yeah, was that the only game there for Canada there?
No, they played New Zealand there as well.
Okay, I was at one of those games. I don't know if I was at both of them.
It also hosted the semi-final between Japan and England and the third place game between England and Germany. But I mean, yes, that's a good selection. That's a stadium that just has so many historic moments in Canadian soccer. I almost went for a stadium for C. I was going to go with Callister Park, which is also known as Con Jones Park. So that's two C's there. Historic Vancouver Stadium, located across from the PNE at Renfrew and Oxford Street. It was Vancouver's premier soccer ground from the 1920s up to 1970. It hosted so many games there, touring teams, local leagues were played there, but then it became green space in 1971, sadly. There's a lot of C's in Canadian soccer. Tim Ford, the biggest C that springs to mind for me, but that's a whole other thing. But the C that I end up going for, the Connaught Cup. Don't know if you're familiar with that. The Connaught Cup was the trophy presented to Canada's first ever national soccer champions.
Oh.
So the CSA was formed in 1912 as the Dominion of Canada Football Association. They created their first ever national championship the following year, and it was played in Fort William, Ontario. So a nice Scottish connection. I've been to Fort William, seen East Fife play at Fort William.
Nice.
The trophy has been donated to the CSA by the Duke of Connaught, and that's why it then got the name. He was the Governor General, and teams competed for that trophy to 1925. The first ever national championship was played, as I mentioned, in Fort William in 1913. 4 teams took part. Fort William CPR from New Ontario, Toronto Old Country from Ontario. I'd never heard of New Ontario. Is that something you're familiar with?
No, sorry,
In the Old Dominion?
No.
Huh.
Upper in Canada and Lower Canada? No.
I guess. Lachine from Montreal, Quebec, and Norwood Wanderers from Winnipeg in Manitoba. It was a 4-team round-robin tournament. Norwood Wanderers won with a win and 2 draws. They were undefeated. There were 6 member associations of the Dominion Canadian Football Association at that time. So there's New Ontario, Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. So British Columbia weren't in the CSA at that time. So that's why there was no teams from there then. So the Connaught Cup was replaced in 1926 by the FA Trophy, which was then referred to as the Connaught Series. And it's still played for the tournament today as the Challenge Trophy, because the third new trophy was presented in 2004, which is still played for to this very day by the best amateur teams in Canada. So that's whoever wins the Provincial Cup here in BC. So that is my C. The Connaught Cup, big, momentous thing. The precursor really to the Canadian Championship, which could have got a nod. Might save that to V. Also, the CPL, the CSL deserves nod for C as well.
Nice. I was at the Canada-New Zealand game, which on the same day included China, Holland at Commonwealth.
So you
And
missed
that,
the opener, but you were there for the
yeah,
second game. Nice. So
yeah.
yeah, two good C's there, as has often been said about us in the podcast. But let's finish this part. We'll turn our attention to the Canadian men's national team. Their first game of 2026, the road to the World Cup, fully underway. It was a 1-0 win over Guatemala. I didn't think it was the most exciting match, but I only watched the highlights because I didn't have One Soccer. But you said it was a good game. You enjoyed it.
I guess I enjoyed it from a certain perspective, right? You know, like this is like
Young team.
This is like Obi-Wan to Luke, right? You know, what I told you was true from a certain point of view. No, it's just for me, Michael. I guess one of the things I enjoyed about it was it's like a symbol of the progression of the game in our country, right? I mean, on one level, it seems like the CSA under the stewardship of what's his name now?
Kevin Blue.
Kevin Blue, sorry. I almost called him Kevin Bell.
No,
Kevin Blue.
he's blue. Dabba-dee-dabba-dabba-dabba-dee.
But no, under his stewardship,
I think this could be why he doesn't come on the show. But anyway,
under his stewardship and stuff, and this kind of new era, and everyone kind of hopefully pulling in the same direction to make things as quality as possible for all people, all teams involved in the game in our country. Yeah, there is, because we haven't done this. I can't remember the last time we did this. I think we've done it once before, but having this, what they're dubbing Camp Poutine, in reference to it's like the Americans, they used to call it Camp Cupcake, right? Where they have all the MLS players or all North American players kind of be best to be invited. They leave all the European-based players alone, and they'd have this camp. They have some smaller friendlies and whatever. And I guess just the fact that Canada is doing that or doing that again just felt really good. And it felt really good because, like you said, a lot of young players, a lot of players who might not get a chance in a normal situation, they got looks.
mm-hmm.
They got an opportunity.
They don't get official caps, unfortunately, which I don't like.
That is a very unfortunate downside, and that whole debacle and rationale and whatever is just kind of weird. Like, to me, it's like
all the tier stuff and because Marcelo Flores we spoke about in the last show, and then he couldn't play because if it was a tier 1 friendly he couldn't play, and then it ended up not being a tier 1 friendly. And
but apparently he still would have had to sign the switch though to do it,
even for tier 2.
Yes, that's what I heard somewhere.
Oh, because it wasn't a closed door. Yes, that's what it was.
That's what it was. Yeah,
there was a decent enough crowd, lots of Guatemalans there.
Yeah. So it was nice. And then obviously, as we're trying to grow the game on the men's side in the country, the CPL is a massive part of that. So to see a number of current CPL players and obviously former CPL players be in this side and make appearances and stuff, I felt like Gmo was not out of place. I mean, he didn't light it up or anything, but he was not out of place.
No, well, Malik Henry gets the assist and the goal, and what a cross it was!
It was a great cross, great finish.
Was it a fairly full strength Guatemalan side? Because again, I just watched the highlights, so I don't.
You know what? I didn't look at the Guatemalan side at all. I couldn't watch it until today. I couldn't watch it until after the fact, like later, like hours and hours after it. Because I want to watch it in the whole, and I was at the U19 game and whatever. So actually, the other thing I really loved about it, Michael, not loved about it, but I think it was kind of meaningful for me was, I have a family that I work with was just down in Guatemala. They were serving in Guatemala with some people they know there. Like a whole family of 6 were down, and they came back. And our first, I think I might have told you this before, but our first gathering of every new year, we do this little thing just to make it kind of fun and whatever. We called the Christmas gift fashion show. And so we invite
I saw it on Instagram, yes.
Yeah. So we invite everyone to just wear something that you got for Christmas, whether it's socks or shoes or jackets or shirts or whatever. Jeans.
Kneecap jersey. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Just wear it. And then we have a little fashion show. We have a little runway, and then it's kind of like a competition.
I like that.
Whoever can do it. And this year, actually, our older group of dudes won it because they basically did that celebration, where the one person lies down like they're a fish and the other people pretend like they're catching.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically did that. It was really funny. But anyways, these two of my students who were part of this family that were in Guatemala, they were wearing they were wearing that kit. Got that kit in Guatemala, the one that was worn in the game today. They were wearing, I think both of them were wearing the jersey, and I think one of them was wearing the matching shorts. And it's actually like, I don't know, maybe one of the nicest Guatemala kits I think I've ever seen before. Just because it stands out. I don't know, it stands out a little bit. Usually I'm not all for the busyness that's kind of in that sash, but I don't know. I really like it. And yeah, it was a good game.
I watched a lot of the World Cup qualifiers, and I was kind of rooting for them. Their fan base is amazing. It's like so passionate and in a good way as well.
Yeah. So it was just it's like to me, people watching might have been like, oh, it was not a tactical masterclass or not every player was amazing, like whatever, but it was just kind of like, as I was watching it, I was just like, this is like a sign of us, a moment where we're like, yeah, we're kind of reaching another level, right? And again, it's partly because funds have been raised, and it's partly because there's a World Cup coming, but it is like a progression, and hopefully for those players, any of them that obviously make the World Cup squad, this will have likely played some role in that, and those who don't, I think some at least, if not maybe even many, will be a part of the side going forward and in the future, and that will
because it is such a young side, and everyone's so focused on this year naturally, but you've got to think ahead as well.
Yeah.
Talking about a couple of the players now, Ralph Priso got the start at centre back beside Kamal Miller, so we'll talk about Ralph in a sec.
Yeah.
Ryan Illumi was the other Whitecap that got the start up front, so he didn't really feature in the highlights that I saw. So I mean, was he much involved? It's a lot to throw an 18-year-old, I think, into that level.
The one thing that stands out for me is he had this one sort of half chance where I can't remember who it was. Someone played him kind of into the box, and he either needed to turn and take it first time, or have a better control to create space for the shot. Because he took a touch, and I think as he wanted to shoot, it either got blocked or got taken from him. But in that moment, I thought, "Oh my goodness, Ryan Illumi's going to score." So he had a moment, but I also liked one of the moments that was kind of cool was when he got subbed off. Marsch was there, and Marsch was gesticulating and talking about, just like teaching him and giving him feedback, and it all seemed positive. None of this oh, what were you doing? It was all very, very positive. And
I expected there to be mass substitutions at half time, and there wasn't. So they gave a lot of the guys an hour or so, which was good.
No, yeah. So I thought Illumi, he wasn't amazing. It wasn't he's in consideration for that fifth striking role in the squad or anything like that. But I thought it was a solid effort from him, and hopefully a meaningful camp for him, because he is one of the players who is young and long term has to make a decision, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he could be looking at under-20 World Cup qualification and stuff. So, I mean, he's got so much time on his side, but he is going to have to make a decision soon. A former Whitecap, Jaden Nelson, got the start, and I've read a few things online, so I'm curious for your takes on this. But the consensus seemed to be he had a decent enough showing, but it just felt he was trying a bit too hard.
Yeah, actually, Chadsky was texting me about him after I told him I finished watching the game, and he was talking about how he's the kind of player where he needs to look up more for that pass inside the box, as opposed to either trying to do too much or trying to finish it himself. At the very beginning of the game, he made a brilliant move to beat his man on the outside on the left, deep on the left. And I thought, oh, is he going to have a game here where he is going to be dominant or, dictating, a la the 4-1 in Portland or whatever? But he didn't, in the end, he didn't. And it still feels like he's in this place where he's trying to figure out how to balance everything together. His pace with his taking on a man, with his passing, with his finishing. And I don't think it was like a performance where Marsch is absolutely out of my squad for the summer. But I also at the same time don't think it's a performance or a camp where Marsch is we can't go to the World Cup without him. And so I still think a lot will ride on number one, what happens with other players. Number two, how he performs and settles in Austin. And I think number three, potentially he's a player who, could be back later and that could be, definitive for him. Players with that much pace, you just hope that they'll be able to be a part of things because they can just make a difference, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he started, so it wasn't like he was running against tired legs.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he starts strong in Austin. I like Jaden as a player. I like him as a person, and I want the best for him. I think the way he left the Caps was so classy.
Yeah.
And Axel again said this week he would never have left if it wasn't the World Cup year. He just knows what an opportunity this is.
Yeah.
And he is on that cusp.
Yeah.
And it just takes someone to have a great next couple of months and he could be pushed out of there.
Yeah.
Or him to have a great couple of months and cement himself.
Exactly. I don't want to put words in like Chatsky's mouth, but I felt like, and this kind of ties in with some of the stuff, I think the stuff you were hearing online is I got the sense that he was not disappointed that Nelson was no longer a Whitecap after watching the game. That kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for him because like he's one of the ones in that camp that is going to have thought, I need to impress. I need to stand out in this.
Yeah.
I need to show I'm above the quality of what you've brought in around me as well.
That too, yeah.
I mean, going then back to centre-back, Kamal Miller and Ralph Priso got the start. Joel Waterman, he does know what Joel's about, so I guess that's why I have a look at Kamal. This is what this camp's about. But again, from what I've read online, not with Whitecaps tinted spectacles, people weren't just saying that Ralph Priso was the better of the two centre-backs. A few people had Priso as their man of the match.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game from him. It was really encouraging. And again, he's not the biggest center back in the world, but the way he's reading the game right now, I think is at a high level. And I thought he performed well. I have a soft spot for Kamal Miller. I really,
yeah, because I know we spoke about him last year.
Yeah, I love what Kamal Miller brought to the 2022 World Cup squad, and both in qualifying and even at the tournament. He's a kind of player that, depending on what happens with others, I think could be a really meaningful inclusion in the side.
Well, I mean, right now with the injury situation, you're banking on these guys getting healthy, and if not, you need a guy with the experience of like Kamal Miller.
Yeah, and he wasn't amazing, but I don't think he was also horrible. There was a moment too. I said to Kirk, I was like, because there was one moment where he had one of those. I think one of his assets is the ability to make a clean slide tackle when the man is past him or ahead of him. And he had one of those moments in the game, and I was like, that's like a Kamal Miller tackle, like just beautiful, perfectly timed. Of course, in the past he has missed some of those or whatever, but yeah, hopefully for his sake that this is something that will continue to give them stuff to think about. But from a Priso level, like could the perception that he could have leapfrogged him, I see validity in that as well.
The thing is, as well, with Priso, you've got to imagine right now he starts the season beside Blackmon, and he's going to be getting that minutes. He's going to have the chance to shine in home games at BC Place where he's comfortable. Yep. And I mean, I think from everything that I've read, from what I saw in the highlights, I got to watch a little bit at the start of the game. I found a dodgy YouTube feed in Spanish, but it got taken down. So what I saw in the early moment, he had a couple of really good moments in that as well. So you imagine he's going to be back for the March camp. But then it's like, does he play in the March camp, which is then going to be who's healthy, who's not?
Yeah. I think the Bombito recovery, the Alfie Jones recovery,
Derek Cornelius recovery.
Exactly. Is all really, really, really significant. Because then, what was the issue with Waterman? Because I heard he was unavailable for this as well. From do you have a niggle or something?
I don't know, because he spoke to media the day before.
Oh no, yeah, he was there and everything. But I thought,
because actually, let's play you what I've got here. So the day before the game, there was the pre-match press conference. So I jumped on the call. Here's a little bit of audio from Jesse Marsch and Joel Waterman just talking about Ralph Priso. I just wanted to ask you about Ralph Priso. So he's obviously had a fantastic year for the Whitecaps last year, making the move to centre-back. Jesse, how do you see him now? Do you see him as a centre-back? Do you see him as a defensive midfielder? And Joel, you made that switch from a defensive midfielder to a centre-back. How easy is that transition?
There's subtle differences. Obviously you're the last man back now, you're last line back. So, any little mistake, it ends up in the back of your net. Whereas a 6, you kind of have that leeway. If you don't get to the ball, you make a mistake, your back line's there kind of to bail you out. So there's a subtle difference there. But for me, I always try to keep it in, my mind, you're basically the same position, but 10, 15 yards back. But obviously the way we play, it's a really, really high line as well. So you got to defend the space. But on the ball, it's very, very similar, depending on if you play in a back 3 or a back 4. But he's been great. I had the opportunity to play with him in our inter squad the other day, and he was fantastic. He's good on the ball. He's physical. He's aggressive. Even for his size, he's been doing really well in that position. So there's little subtle differences. I think that will take time, and it definitely took me time to understand. But he's definitely on the right track.
Yeah, and it's funny. I saw him maybe halfway through the season. And I joked with him that, we're going to call him in at some point, and that I see him as a 6, not as a center back. And then he continued to have a really good season at center back and go to the final MLS Cup and play really well in the playoffs. And we've basically only used him as a center back. So, I look at him now. Right now, I think it's most beneficial for him with this experience and with his club experience to be a center back. And what Joel says is pretty accurate, I think. He's a smart guy, so he understands concepts really well. And I think he's thrown himself at the idea of what we need at center back, and he's been quite good this week. So, he'll get his chance to play, I suppose, on tomorrow, and we'll be excited for it.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby!
So Jesse Marsch and Joel Waterman there, Zach, talking about Ralph Priso. So Joel had said, and this is what surprised me when I saw the starting lineup, he, in the inter-squad games, was playing alongside Ralph.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it was the two of them that were going to get the start.
Yeah.
So again, I didn't know he'd had a knock or something. So I was surprised that Kamal got it. I was like, oh, no, that makes sense. They obviously just need to have a look at Kamal. But it was Priso and Waterman in the inter-squad games.
I can't remember what they said on the broadcast now, because I know I thought they mentioned that something kept Waterman out, or maybe it was something he wanted to look at these two. But yeah.
But I mean, Joel there spoke about, because he made the transition from DM to CB, and there's so many similarities, and he's been impressed with what he's seen from Ralph. Kind of felt awkward getting Joel's take on it, because it's like, this could be a guy that could push you out the squad depending on how things go. So don't want you to pump his tires up too much. Anyone else stand out for you in particular, good or bad, in the game? What about James Pantemis?
Yeah, they gave Gervan a little bit of run at the end too, which I thought was nice, and he was fine.
I saw that Owen Goodman, since we're talking about keepers, has got a loan deal now to get more playing time to try and make the squad.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate if Pantemis was the number 3, honestly. But no, I thought he was fine. He was good. He was solid. Again, one of the people who've spent time in the CPL, and now is doing well in MLS. What's his name? Obviously, he'll get some plaudits because he scored the goal. Jason Russell Rowe.
Yeah.
It was. I think he had a good game. He looked at the end like he maybe should have been one of the subs. He looked a little bit tired, but a good run for his goal.
Because the March camp coming up, Jesse could bring as many players as he wants, really.
Yeah.
But you don't want to bring players and they don't end up seeing a minute on the pitch in any of the games. But anyone then from this that you think, yeah, they'll definitely be going to this March camp. So Ralph Priso, definitely. Joe Waterman, Richie Larea, those guys we know are good.
Oh yeah, it was good to see Larea captain the side. That was really nice.
Yeah, standing up for himself in the little scuffle that I
Yes.
saw.
Yeah,
I got feisty early and a friendly.
yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like Ozo, I think Jesse Marsch really likes Ozo, and he looked like he was limping off at the end, honestly. Like, it looked like he was like, I might have just been, but yeah, he looked like he was coming off gingerly or slowly or whatever. And I don't think.
Well,
it
my
was
dog
supposed to
Annie
be-
hurt her leg on Friday and gave a yelp and was limping, but she seems back to normal, so they heal quickly.
There, there you go. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Well,
I was
I said,
well, definitely not going to Marbella now. This is going to be a couple of $100 dropped in X-rays, but she seems fine. Big drama.
Like I said, Gmo, I thought was surprisingly good. I enjoyed. I don't know that he was great or anything, but I enjoyed watching Brienne come on near the end. He
That's
only
a
got,
nice story as
10
well.
minutes or whatever. Yeah, that was
Winnipegger. Well, I mean, your C in the A to Z was Commonwealth Stadium, so they've announced now that they're going to be playing Uzbekistan.
Yes, yeah. That's the side that everyone wants to see at this summer's World Cup. Uzbekistan.
Well, Cape Verde.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I've watched Uzbekistan in the U17 and the U20 World Cups the last few years. They have invested heavily in their youth development, and you've now reaped the rewards that they're at their first World Cup.
No, I honestly, I think it's a really good game for Canada to have, and I think it's a really good game for the Uzbeks. Right, like I think this is going to be an interesting game in a Commonwealth.
The
And then
Habibullah brothers will be happy and be along to see that.
well, hopefully, yeah, and hopefully there's going to be, I think, at least one game in Montreal. There's going to be, I thought supposedly the send-off game is going to be
Yeah,
Montreal.
that's what I'd heard as well. So
Yeah, we look forward to those announcements as quickly as possible.
yes. Last little bit of international soccer chat. John Herdman has a new job.
And you were like the last person he told.
I missed the initial announcement, but then I saw it all over Indonesian soccer Twitter, which is a weird phrase to say, when he was revealed. Yeah, he is the new head coach of the Indonesian national team.
That's going to be interesting for him.
My knowledge of Indonesian soccer is not great. I know they hosted the Under-20 World Cup on the men's side recently. I know that there's been a number of deaths from stadium tragedies in recent years in Indonesia. I know they have a very strong football supporting culture and oi punk music culture with a big crossover. And I know that Ali Endom's going to play there. And that's about my Indonesian soccer knowledge.
Yeah.
Is this a case of John Herdman getting as far away from Canada and the press as possible?
Maybe.
He spoke very positively, as he would, about Indonesian soccer and the potential and what they've got, the young players coming through and the pathways and what he wants to do to the team. So all the very best to him.
Well, yeah. I mean, with 48 teams in the World Cup and with, other people suggesting it should be more, you do feel that Indonesia as a country with, what is it, like 250 million people or something, that there's
You've got a chance.
You got a chance of unearthing enough quality players to advance or to be a meaningful competitor in the Asian Confederation. And John is this, perpetual kind of hopeful person who likes to help people realize their dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is kind of another opportunity for him to do that. It does feel like, the other side of the world.
I'm jealous in one way in that he gets to go to Borneo and Sumatra and see the orangutans, which are one of my most beloved animals in the world. I'd love to go and see them in their habitat. So he's got that great opportunity.
Yeah, I just wonder how he's going to adapt to everything, the culture and the football culture.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the qualification this time around. So Indonesia in the first round of qualifying finished second in Group F behind Iraq. In the third, that was in the second round. In the third round of qualifying, they finished fourth in Group C. Japan, Australia went through in that. So then Saudi Arabia and Indonesia went through to the fourth round, but they finished bottom of Group B behind Iraq and Saudi Arabia on no points from their 2 games. So they got pretty far.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can just elevate them and take them to the next level, they've got a great chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck to John. In the unlikely event that he's listening to this, we'd love to have you on to chat about your new job. So reach and get in touch. I know he used to listen to the podcast all the time, he told us. So he's got to have something to do in Indonesia. Let's talk orangutans. Get on the show.
He could listen to like two or three episodes on flights there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to be based there all the time, if he's going to travel back and forward from Vancouver. I'd imagine he's going to travel back and forward.
Yeah, my understanding is he's not giving up his place in the Vancouver area.
Yeah. If you're listening, John, get in touch. But that is it pretty much for this episode of the show. We'll finish as always with Wavelength, this section of the show where we play a song all about or around football. And as we're going to do up until the end of July, outside of March, every song we're going to play in Wavelength is going to be a World Cup related song. So we're going back to 2014 for this one. I've wanted to play this one for a while in the show because it's a really good song, but it's about England. So I thought, I'll play it now since we're doing World Cup songs. It's from folk rock troubadour Neil Brophy. He's from Northampton in England. Cobblers! No, it's true, he is. And this is a single he released in 2014. Football, rock and roll.
Standing on the touchline in my number 13 shirt. 5th round of the School Cup, kicking up the dirt. Teacher never picked me, I never made the team. So I hung me boots up, shattered schoolboy dream. Friends of mine sang chorus for the England football team. I soon learnt all the lines, out chant, shout and scream. Every game at Wembley we stood behind the goal, knocking out the anthems with some football rock and roll. England supporter right from the start, got my 3 lions tattooed on my arm. Off to South America to score the winning goal. We're gonna win the World Cup with some football rock and roll. Go, you know what I mean. The golden squad, the pick of the crop of England's pastures green. Football hymns and Udez wins, adrenaline running high. Captain fantastic, spirit in the sky. England supporter right from the start, got my 3 lions tattooed on my arm. Off to South America to score that winning goal. Gonna win the World Cup with some football rock and roll. Chim chimney, chim chim chiroo. Sing your hearts out for the lads in red, white and blue. Paint your face and bang the drum, we'll sing out all we will. Win the cup with some rock and roll this summer in Brazil. Win the cup with some rock and roll this summer in Brazil. England supporter right from the start, got my 3 lions tattooed on my arm. Off to South America to score the winning goal. We're gonna win the World Cup with some football rock and roll. We're gonna win the World Cup with some football rock and roll. We're gonna win the World Cup with some football rock and roll.
Neil Brophy, Football Rock and Roll. You can find that on his On the Record Collector EP from 2014, a song about England and the hope of them winning the World Cup in Brazil. It wasn't to be, thankfully. We'll be back with another World Cup wavelength song next time. That is it for the show, Zach. Before we go, any final thoughts from you? Any shout-outs you want to give?
Bayern started the season, a Bundesliga campaign, with a 6-0 victory over Dead Bull Leipzig. And
I saw that. Well, I saw the score of that.
Today was the
Fonzie was back.
This weekend was the return fixture at the Dead Bull Arena, the Zentralstadion. Some injury, some rotation, quite a different side for Bayern. But down 1-0 to half, maybe one of the halves of the season where we were most outperformed, at least in the league. But never fear, because by the end of the game, it was a whole lot of what time is it? I was going to text you, but when I was watching, it was so late. I was like, I'm not going to. You're going to message me and be like, what's happened? What are you watching?
I'll be like, what, in the A-League?
Yeah, in the A-League, yeah. No, it was 5 past Deadpool, a really great performance, really awesome. But more importantly, I want to give a shout out to David Norman VI.
Oh, I saw that on Instagram as well, yes.
Maybe having David Norman VII, who knows?
Oh, I mean, it's inevitable, surely.
You never know.
Or Davida, if it's a girl.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, his wife's pregnant, and him as well. Well, he's not pregnant, but they're expecting a baby. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah, so
congratulations to the Normans.
Yeah, exciting.
Lynn's lovely.
Yes.
Happy days. Give us a follow in all the usual places. I still haven't got around to replying to everyone's emails. I will this week. As I say, it's hard to read Victorian literature and watch French New Wave films from the 60s and reply to emails. But I'll try and be better. But we will be back with another episode soon. Maybe get some interviews done down in Marbella as well. Until next time, as always, thanks for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps and allez, Le Rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.